we have gathered, and I don't know how to start this video. So,
Yeah.
um,
What else is new?
if you have not seen, there is an episode 0. I would recommend watching that if you are unfamiliar with the series, because we'll be going over some like basic concepts and stuff like that, and also spoil things. It'll be really cool. But
Yep.
if you have not watched that, this is, our tentatively named Animorphs podcast that may or may not actually be called The Sharing. I say this because I have found that there was another one called that, and it was last updated 8 years ago and didn't get very far, and I feel like ours is probably going to have the same fate, but we'll see.
Peter out around the same time.
Yeah. I would like to
That's
get
fine.
further than that.
Have faith.
But yep, we have all read the first book. Took a bunch of notes on them, and I think we're just going to kind of go through. I will summarize what happens in the book, so if people who have not read it will be able to have an idea of what's going on and won't just have us making stupid jokes about crap out of context. And hopefully it'll be a fun time, and we'll do 73 more of these. That's not how many books there are, so I don't know what the last few
It's
will
only
be.
a slight exaggeration.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess we just kind of jump in here. I don't really feel the need to.
Let's jump right in.
There was no pun.
Just go ahead and take a bite.
God.
Ignoring that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Let's just-
no more memes.
I mean, there can be a few memes, but yeah. Like I said, this is
Like the cat.
yeah.
Yes.
I don't know how to include this part. So it the notes that we did here, I just kind of wanted to go through and just go through chronologically. But I'll show a couple images here of just like the inside cover. That'll probably just be in the main thumbnail.
I mean, I figured we
imagine.
could also just link to the
And,
doc after we're done with it, right?
Oh, could do.
I suppose.
You had some pictures of the kids. Cassie doing a really weird pose. I don't know what's up with that. All this
She's like
various
half
stuff.
crouched. It's
Yeah,
good.
Yeah.
I don't.
I feel like I've seen
It's
this
like
pose
she's
before.
trying to be at like the same height as them all, but she should have been in the back, but she's in the front, so
Yeah.
it looks really awkward.
Well, I mean, you also just got Tobias. Is that Tobias on the left there?
Yeah.
That's just way taller than them anyway.
The guy that looks like the kid from the Breakfast Club.
He also just looks nothing like the description of Tobias. Like
No, they could
he
never.
had like a mop
He
of
also
like
looks
blonde hair,
like he's
right?
like 5 years older than the rest of them.
Yeah, I love it.
They changed cover models a few times, and they could never get Tobias right for some reason.
He's because he's usually a hawk. They didn't know how to portray him.
But I also like it's like, okay, Cassie, we need you to crouch into this weird pose because we're gonna draw Axe behind you, and we want to make sure that you don't block his face.
Also, is it just me or does Jake look older than I expected him to?
Yeah.
How old are they in
well,
the books?
They start out at about
he's
13.
He's
13.
giving Milo from Treasure Planet, but without the glasses.
He's giving me like president of the Young Republicans, like chapter of the local town.
And Rachel just kind of looks like a bitch.
Yeah, she's just like,
Yeah.
I don't have anything to say about Marco. He looks fine.
Yeah, he's
yeah.
chill. He's the only sane one here.
And then we have the TV cast where everything is all dramatic and
Well, don't forget about the horrifying illustration on the right, which would mostly be fine if not for the fucked up nose.
but that's just how they
That's
look.
what it looks like.
But they have a weird slit
I don't have to
nose.
like it.
They have a 3-slit nose.
I don't have to like it.
I'll get used to it.
I mean, you agreed with me. You wrote a note here that said the alien guy is terrifying. Why is his nose like that?
Yes. And then I read the book.
All right.
But anyway, I don't feel the need to comment too much on the TV cast. I think most of them look fine. I know Jake went on to do stuff. I think he's in Marvel movies or something. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
They're also far too old to be playing 13-year-olds, but that's just kind of
Yeah, I
normal for
mean,
TV.
this is...
Typical.
Yeah.
So, anyway, moving on, here's just the start. I don't have notes at the beginning. It actually takes a while for me to jump in here, but I guess I can start us off anyway. Every one of these books pretty much starts the same way with, like, my name is whatever. I can't tell you my last name or where we live. The Yerks are watching, blah, blah, blah. It's the same kind of song and dance. And of course, at the beginning of the first book, we don't really know what that means yet. But we'll find out in a few chapters.
Yeah, it's a little bit in medias res.
The first line of the book is something like, "My name is Jake. I can't tell you my last name, obviously." And I just went like, "Oh, yeah, obviously."
Right.
Like, shut the fuck up, kid. I've known you for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
That's my first name,
that,
obviously. No, I thought Jake was your last name.
I mentioned the part where he's like, "Oh, I can't tell you what town I live in, but it could be anywhere. It could even be your town." It's kind of a fun way of making it sound kind of like relatable, hooking you in. It's like, whoa, it could be my town, and it invites you to take in the creative vision and imagining your town. At least if you're in the US or maybe Canada. We don't really have, going to the mall here, so.
I always find it really surreal to read about, like settings that are my town. I read a book. I read for like a Saskatchewan young readers group, so I read a lot of like Saskatchewan literature, and some of them are set in my town, and it's always like, I don't like that I know where this is.
Yeah.
It's one thing if I'm like reading about like, oh, I've been to this city in Montreal and I'm reading about this or this place in Vancouver that I've been to, but if it's like a place that I live and I'm like, you weren't here.
I guess I've never had that situation happen.
Me neither. But I can imagine.
But yeah, the book starts out with our narrator Jake at the mall with his friend Marco. They're playing some ill-defined arcade game that we have some comments on.
Yeah.
We have Sega at home.
Yeah, it says... Yes. Let me find the actual way that it's worded here. So yeah, he says, we're mostly equally good at games. I have Sega at home, so I get lots of practice time in, but Marco has this amazing ability to analyze games and figure out all the little tricks. I will say...
I feel like...
Well, you have a point here. Go ahead and just read it.
Well, I kind of thought of an extra thing to say, but yeah, I wrote, was it even normal for kids to say that they have Sega to mean that they have a Genesis or a Master System? Because that strikes me as more of like an uninformed adult thing. I do remember there was like there's no such thing as a Nintendo ad, but I always kind of figured that was aimed more at the general population.
I didn't learn about that ad until recent years. As somebody who grew up with these systems, I had a Sega. I called it the Sega. I also had the regular Nintendo and the Super Nintendo.
Nice. Okay, fair enough then. Objection rescinded.
Yeah. I don't think I even knew that the Master System existed, so it was just the Sega. I didn't have to call it a Genesis to differentiate it from anything.
Interesting.
So
is it kind of like, if your microwave had some like model name or something, it's like, what the fuck ever is, this brand of microwave, I guess.
Maybe, but
I've never really experienced this. I've had the Wii, the Switch, the PlayStation. I've never called anything the Sega.
Yeah.
Well, you called the PlayStation the Sega, but then people corrected you.
No.
Okay, I guess I was gonna say, outside of that, this is actually like, it's just specific enough to like to paint a picture, but it's not like, I don't know how to explain it. It's not like the writing equivalent of when in movies they're playing like, a fucking JRPG with like Atari noises while they're like,
right.
rapidly button mashing. Like, it's coherent. It's fine. It works. Even if you can maybe a little bit tell the author isn't super familiar with it, it's like it's
right. So we get a little bit of background info here. Jake has a brother named Tom who was into basketball. Jake wanted to try out for the team, didn't make it. And then we're introduced to Tobias, who I think just kind of shows up as they're leaving. Jake has it sounds like he doesn't really consider them to be friends, but maybe Tobias considers Jake his friend. It's just because, like, some bullies were apparently giving him a swirly, which we have comments on in a second here, but and then Jake
Yes.
kind of like saved him, and I mentioned in episode 0 that Tobias has like a weird home life where he doesn't have parents and his aunt and uncle don't care about him, and he just kind of drifts around. But yeah, the swirly thing.
Yeah, I just wrote that, like, I don't know if they're real. I mean, I'm sure that it's happened a non-zero number of times, but it always felt so tropey and cartoonish to me. Like, I've certainly never seen it or experienced it. Is this a thing? Did you know
idea.
people in school that had gotten swirlies?
I definitely didn't. I have a very pointless anecdote from when we were in like 4th grade or something, where for some reason the teacher had us like, we had to decide on a name for just a generic spiral notebook that we were going to use for like note taking, so that she could say like, you know, pull out the blank and we would know what to take out. And like Mr. Swirly, I think, was a suggestion, and she's just like, we can't do that because that's a name for a terrible thing that we can't act like we accept that.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like, oh, sure. It was stupid. So what do we have about the games here? Because they are mentioned briefly.
Yeah.
Troll.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, there's...
Certain people keep forgetting that the sleaze troll shows up right after you cross the Nether Fjord.
I'm
So-
assuming this is a boss that happens after you like are through a part of the game. I do think it's one
Yeah.
of those like D&D co-op arcade
That's
games.
that's the best guess I had, yeah.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In like the old style arcade settings, there would often be like kind of RPG-esque style
Mhm.
arcade.
I want to
games.
say, like, Eye of the Beholder is one.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, and you could like pick a character and then you
Mhm.
would play. Some of them were
You know,
single
such
player,
as
some of them are
Fighter,
co-op.
Mage, Elf.
Yes.
Jew.
All those
In South
good
Park,
classes.
yeah. Forgot about that in South Park.
Right. So, anyway, they're going home. Like I said, Jake, Marco, Tobias, and then they run into Rachel and Cassie, who are doing their own thing. And then we have...
Rachel is so pretty and she's so attractive, and I really like Cassie. I'm really into her, but like Rachel, my cousin, is so pretty.
My God.
Yeah,
So-
both me and,
She's
both me and Nick
so graceful.
kept making, both me and Nick kept making fun of this in the notes that Jake is like, I don't think of her like that, but then continues to repeatedly describe her as such every time she comes up.
Let me go ahead and read the exact wording here, and then I'll give my comment on it. It says, Rachel is kind of pretty, I guess. I mean, okay, she's very pretty. Although, since she is my cousin, I don't really think about her that way. She has blonde hair and blue eyes and that very clean, very wholesome look. And I'm just like, but, anyway, you know, I fucking knew at least one of you was going to comment on this shit. I didn't expect both of you would. Like, I read this as Jake basically saying, like, you know, she is traditionally attractive, but I don't think of her that way. This is like, you know, how to picture her. Like,
Okay,
So,
coming
like,
from somebody
she's
who has
popular
a
and-
traditionally attractive cousin, I have never once thought he it described him as attractive to anybody.
Wouldn't you just say, you know, that popular, you know, she's popular with the guys? You'd say that, right? Like,
I
Yeah.
guess.
a lot of people like
Like
that
I
type of thing.
know my cousin is attractive because we danced together when he took my best friend to our winter formal, and one of my classmates was like, "Who's that guy you're with?" And I'm like, "That's my cousin." Ew. And she's all like, "Oh, so he's available?" I'm like, "No." Fuck
Look it
you.
up. God.
He
But
is
I think what's funnier is that we have this paragraph of him saying, like, you know, she's kind of pretty, blah blah blah. Cassie is the opposite, and then goes on to say, "You could say that I kind of like Cassie." Like,
well, hang on.
He said making fun of him mostly.
Okay, I will defend him on this one because he gave a larger description.
I know
for Rachel, and then for Cassie was saying that she's different in all of those ways he described, in that she's not this like graceful kind of she's more down to earth and like in tune with animals and nature and that type of thing, and also she just looks different because she's black and has short hair. Like that, he was just we're drawing a contrast.
I know it's just funny in context. And then I had to point out Rachel just is immediately coming in with the girl boss bullshit. That's kind of how I described her in part 0. Where the hell is the line? Because he's just they're gonna walk home, and he's just like, do you want to come with us? You shouldn't be going alone, being a girl and all. And she's just like, oh, you're gonna protect us, you big strong man. Like, oh my god.
Yeah. Like
Rachel. Yeah. So they go on about how there's this random construction site near the mall where they were gonna develop something and then just didn't, and it's been abandoned for years. And their parents are always like, never walk through there because, you'll run into like drug addicts and axe murderers and stuff. And they're just like, so, we would definitely never do that. So anyway, there we were doing that. You have the grounding comment here.
I think he says something like, oh, we'd be grounded for so long if they, need to 20. Yeah. Like my mom promised to ground me until I'm 20, and I'm like, pretty sure grounding someone until they're 20 is normally referred to as kidnapping.
But yeah, so they're cutting through, and suddenly flying saucer, and so they're just like, well, shit. And they're just kind of like staring up at this thing, like kind of wanting to run, but also like, well, I gotta see what this is gonna be. Like, you can't just not see the flying saucer.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel that. I too would be like, adventure?
Yeah. So I have to point out here, like, this is just gonna be something I'll get over eventually, but when I introduced this book series to both of you, I'm like, this is kind of meant for kids. It's going to be a little corny and stuff. I don't remember if it gets, like, better after the first few books or something, but there were a few parts of this where I read this and I'm just like, oh, God, this is so, like, juvenile sounding. Just the line here where Marco is like, phasers are only on Star Trek, rolling his eyes the way he does when he thinks I'm being a dweeb. Like he was some kind of expert on alien spaceships. Right. it's very like looking into the camera and being like, you get what I'm talking about, guys? Like,
yeah. There is a lot of like showing, telling, not showing in this, but like it's a kid's book.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's an interesting blend of 90s cheese and then also just like, oh shit, this is like actually kind of horrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you want to get into the italicized name thing, or?
It's. I just have a weird hang up with, for some reason, I don't like it when I know it's the standard as you wrote here. I don't know. It just feels like it's trying too hard to me.
The thing is, I get what you mean, but the complaint being that like
it bothers me more when it's not in like fiction, because in fiction I'm like, okay, you're having to write all proper, but it's like when someone's like writing an article, like not even an article, but just like I don't know, on like their website, they're talking about something. They're like,
for reference, we're talking about just italicizing the names of like other properties and stuff.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where
they did that with Star Trek.
Yeah, it's correct, but it does also stand out to me as like I couldn't really tell you why. It's the same reason I don't ever say that like other person and I are doing this. I always say me and other person, even though it's wrong. It's the more casual way to say it, so it sounds better. I don't know. But anyway, ship is landing. It's fairly small. They said it's like the size of like a small bus or something.
They said it was like the size of 3 of their parents' minivans or something stupid.
Yeah.
Insert Americans will use anything. Yeah.
God.
Not gonna get into all this little stuff here, but yeah, the thing lands. They're just like, okay, what do we do? Do we like try to call out to whoever's inside it? And then there is suddenly a voice in their heads, and it's formatted as being between angle brackets. And we will find out. We will find out that this is standard for thought speak. I never had an issue with this. To me, it's just kind of indicating that like this is different from normal speech. It still follows the same grammatical rules and everything. It's just instead of quotation marks, you use these brackets.
Yeah. It's different from the norm, but like I said, it gets the point across well enough. So like, I have no issue with it.
It reads as being very alien.
It does.
And I remember I had a teacher who hated this. She like didn't approve of certain popular books. Some of them were Goosebumps, and honestly, I can't really disagree there because those books were kind of shit, even though I liked them.
Yeah.
But she also hated Animorphs, and the reason given was just like, you know, well, they're written all wrong. Like they use like brackets instead of quotations. It's like, what? Why? Why does that matter?
I think you make a good point about it being more alien, because there is later on in the book that I did point out where there's I think it's when Jake is talking to Tobias when he does his first morph, and Jake's thought speech to Tobias is in italicized thought speech, like it is like typically, but like the thought speech from the morph back was still in the like weird brackets.
Yeah. Well, be prepared for that to not matter, because that is not a thing that's supposed to be possible, and it was a mess up. So,
oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So, anyway, like I said, the alien inside the ship is just like Tobias says, we won't hurt you. The alien says, I know, and so they're all just kind of like, okay, what do we do? Can you come out? He comes out, and we see our first Andalite, which, as I described in the previous video, and I guess you saw the picture earlier, they're like a blue centaur thing with weird long whip tails with a blade on the end and eye stalks and a fucked up nose. And also he's dying.
For some reason.
So
now you mentioned that you don't know why here. I'm guessing there's more context I'm missing, but just me as a reader not knowing more context, I'm just like, oh, you know, especially when I read a few more chapters and the Gear ships are following like close behind. I'm like, okay, well they were just chasing him and they shot at him and his ship was damaged and he took some damage. And
yeah, that's the thing is, so we learned that he's been
dying for convenient plot reasons.
He's been outrunning enemy ships and took out a few ships on the way. And he's dying because he just has this, you know, large wound. I think they said like half of his body was burnt or something. Good. And it's like, okay, fair enough. Problem is, he has morphing technology, and morphing fixes injuries. So,
just straight up,
yes,
full injuries.
Yes.
Maybe he couldn't. Maybe he couldn't pilot the ship while morphing.
Maybe
so I think there is an answer to this eventually, because we get a prequel book, and the answer, as far as I'm aware, is just he was in like too much pain to do it or something. Like he was too far gone. I feel like it's a little iffy because we see later in this book that the rules on morphing haven't been 100% figured out yet, and I'm guessing that just wasn't thought of yet. But it's fine. But yeah, so he crash lands, doesn't crash land. He lands and it's just like, hey, I'm gonna die in like 5 minutes. And so immediately, you know, everyone's just like, well, this is, you know, you can't die. You're like the first alien to ever come here. And he's like, oh, no, there's tons of them. And this is when he tells everybody about the Yerks, which are the alien slugs that crawl into your brain and take over your body and are slowly taking over the world.
and nobody knows about them because they're, impossible to detect, basically, and are trying to just make this a very underground operation so that they don't really run into any resistance at all.
For kids.
Yeah.
For the kids.
There's a weird bit where he's describing what the Yeerks look like to them, and he kind of hesitates for a second and then just sort of telepathically shows them a picture of one. And this is what I wrote as, I don't know why this is an actual term, but apparently back in the day when the books were being, were just coming out and there was early websites and fan groups and stuff, Catherine Applegate, the author, made the term Casu for Catherine Applegate's screw up, and just had a list of these Casus of just this is
awesome.
Non-canon, this, I messed this part up.
Nice.
And the first one here is just this isn't a thing that Andalites can do. They can't just show you a mental image of a thing, but it's whatever. The weirder part about this is the fact that he shows them this image and Jake is just it looks like it's about the size of a rat.
Which is horrifying.
Yeah. I think this also gets retconned. I don't remember how big they are described as being later on, but a rat going into your ear and living in your head is a bit much.
I like my comment here. Yeah, I never thought about the size of these things. That's horrifying. Also, how do they get a host to accept them voluntarily? Because that implies a let me in conversation, and I don't know a single human who would see a rat-sized slug and not burn the house down in response.
Yeah. Because, part of the thing here is, we still don't know his name, but the alien is describing to them, how the Yeerks operate, and is they try to accept hosts voluntarily when possible, but when they can't, they'll, take over by force. And so, we'll talk more about that later, the fact that there are people who are okay with this, apparently. That's really weird.
And then there must have been initially, because presumably, without somebody else to, restrain somebody, they couldn't crawl in while the person's thrashing around, right?
Well, it started...
It's uncomfortable for multiple reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't start with humans, so it can always be the case of they were piloting other creatures, and then kind of spread from there, and once they get the Hork-Bajir, they can just kind of snatch some person, make them a controller, and then that person gets more. But we'll get more into that later.
Yeah. I will say, I don't know if this is a real thing, but as a kid, I was always afraid of this thing that I had heard about. I know earwigs are a real bug, but I don't know that this behavior is real. I was always told, oh yeah, they can crawl in your brain and make you deaf. Well, not into your brain, but into your ear and sever your fucking...
Do earwigs actually go in your ear?
I assume that's not true.
I don't.
The fucking forced AI overview of Google is saying that they don't intentionally do this, but it can happen accidentally, but it's very rare.
Oh my god.
God. Okay, but
that's make me feel better,
going into someone's ear and making them deaf. Okay.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry, didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. This is just what I always think of with these.
Right. So, it's hard for me to remember exactly what things I need to be talking about here, because this early in the book, it's a lot of exposition.
Yeah.
He's, talking about the invasion and stuff. The kids are basically saying, shouldn't we just report this? And the alien's well, no, because they're going to have people in the media, and if you report this, then they're just going to infest you.
Yes, they have the police and the math teachers.
Yeah, that's what we'll get to. Marco makes the comment that, even if they did tell anybody, nobody's going to believe them. People would just think they're on drugs or something.
Yeah, no, I said, oh shit, I can't believe they mentioned drugs in an animals book. This is just a running joke, don't worry about it.
Do you want to comment your next thing, too?
Yeah. So the fact that Jake is said earlier, like, oh, we all understood and believed the Andalite immediately, but then only a few pages later, Marco expresses a bunch of doubt, and so I was like, okay, either Jake is just wrong and this is inconsistent, or Marco does believe, but this is just his way of dealing with it, is being in denial, which makes a lot of sense. But you mentioned he's kind of like a more complex character that kind of tries to cover up how he's really feeling with deflecting and humor and stuff.
There's a few levels to this.
It's still the form of that.
Yeah, on one hand, it's like you've seen a UFO land in front of you and, some obviously alien creature speaking inside your mind. Like, whatever this alien says, you probably are going to just believe it because, you've already had your worldview shattered. Why is he going to lie to you?
Yeah, I guess.
But it does also feel like there's sort of some sort of, I'm good at talking. They mention a few times how it, like, the alien seems familiar or something, or they have, like, this strange, I don't know what you'd call it.
Feel like
they have like a connection.
They're like, it feels like, somebody we've known for a very long time or something. I'm like, either this is some time travel shit, or...
What were you saying, Nick?
Sorry. I was going to say the denial he has could also be a mix of, like, this isn't my problem, I'm just a child.
Right.
True.
Yeah. As far as why they would feel like they know him, I will leave that open-ended.
Right. I was just gonna say it's either striking me as time travel, or you did mention something about like them being prophesized, or some of them being prophesized, or maybe it's that.
Yeah, when I talk about that stuff, I'm getting into like late game territory, so we won't worry about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, basically, like I said, he's dying. He's like, okay, we need to figure out something here. I have an idea. Go into my ship and find there's a blue cube and bring it out. So Jake does this. He,
this
sees
is the point at which he's determined to be the leader, right? Or
not?
Or was it just? They're kind of like, well, it has to be either goes together.
Yeah, they all sort of silently agree that Jake is going to be the one to do it. And
yeah, they all just kind of like look at him. He's all like, "Oh fuck."
Tobias is making a point to want to like stay by his side as long as possible. And so yeah, he goes in. He sees like I think it was like a hologram of the Andalites family. He just kind of has that moment realizing like, oh shit, he's gonna die, and they're not gonna know what happened to him. But he finds the cube, brings it out, and he explains that the cube is it will grant them the morphing ability, and kind of explains some of the rules of how that works, which I'm not going to get into right now because we did that in the last video. I want to know why he had it. I don't remember if this is ever explained in the prequel book, because this is not a thing that you would just bring with you. Like, this is a thing where presumably when you're like entering the Andalite military or whatever, they give you this ability. You have to have it done once, and then you never have to interact with the thing again. We also find out that he's in like basically like an escape pod. This isn't like the main ship or anything, so it's weird. And I just said I'm going to chalk this one up to a divine. I'm chalking it up to divine intervention. Like, not even kidding. Like, that. If you know about the trope, a wizard did it. This is an Ellimist did it.
Huh. All right. Well, fair enough.
So, yeah. Like chapter 4. Jake, stop calling your cousin pretty.
Yeah.
So, the enemy ships are approaching. They see some red lights high up in the sky. They have to run away before they're seen. There was a moment there where I'm just like, how the fuck do they not see them? Like, they've got to have, the ability to, like, zoom in really close or something and see, like, oh, there's some kids. There's some kids huddling around this dying alien, but they don't get spotted somehow.
Magic.
Sorry, I went back to our notes and I'm just seeing this other crap at the beginning of chapter 4.
Yeah.
Do you want to share this one with the class?
Oh, mine?
Yes.
So I said Jake's gonna try and kiss Rachel at some point, and it's gonna be like that scene in Friends where Ross tries to kiss his cousin, who is ironically named Cassie, which made me laugh because Rachel and Ross, and then Jake and Cassie, whatever. Because he hasn't been late in a while. But this won't actually happen, but this is something that I think about every time somebody has a crush on, like, their cousin.
God, is that something you run into often?
It's
in
not,
fiction, maybe.
It's a not uncommon trope. Also, there was that one anime, I can't remember what it was, where, like, the dude's cousin was, like, super into him.
No idea. But yeah, no, that episode of Friends
Sword Art Online. I think that was Sword Art.
I haven't seen it because I don't watch bad anime.
That's fair.
So, as the Yerk ships are circling overhead and about to come down, he's just like, okay, we have to do this immediately. Holds out the blue cube, everybody touches a side of it, and they get like a little zap, and it's just like, okay, you can morph now, touch an animal and concentrate to absorb its DNA, concentrate to morph into it. By the way, if you stay in one for 2 hours, you'll get stuck. I don't have time to explain more, bye. And he does like this weird... Oh, before I even get into that, I just want to say, that scene right there is probably like the most iconic from the series. Just the blue 7-fingered hand holding out the cube and all of them going in to touch a side of it. It's, I know there was a shot of it from the TV show that they would always have in the intro, and just the blue cube in general is a basic little piece of iconography for the series. I've seen, there's like some place somewhere that sells these, and they're not specifically supposed to be Animorphs memorabilia, but people buy it and treat it as that anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they get this, and then they have to immediately fuck off because, like, okay, spotlight's coming down. Let's, not be
Tobias stays a little longer, though.
Yeah, Tobias stays slightly longer and gets, like, this little zappy thing, which I marked this as another Casu. We find out later that this just kind of gives him some extra information, and I think it was written this way to not have all of the exposition all at the beginning of the book. Like, later on towards the end, he's just kind of like, oh yeah, I was told this stuff about, like, the Yerk pool and the Kandrona. So, whatever, we'll get to that later. So they're hide behinding a wall. And, the Blade ship lands. This is the, I guess you'd call it like a mothership. I don't know. It's basically like the main ship of this villain we're about to see. A bunch of crap comes out of it. There's Hork-Bajir, which are big dinosaur-y things with long necks and blades all over their bodies. And there's... I always called them Taxons, but I've heard it pronounced Taxon. I don't know how you are supposed to...
I probably would have said Taxon.
Yeah. Taxons are basically giant centipedes that are like... The front end of their body kind of like pokes up, and they have like lobster claws and just like a weird fucked up round mouth and like jelly eyes. They're horrifying looking.
Yeah.
A bunch of them come out. And we hear the, currently unnamed alien is describing them. He's just like, the Hork-Bajir were a peaceful people. They were taken over by the Yerks, and just like...
And he's like, the Taxons are evil.
Yeah. But he's just like, they are to be pitied. And Marco's like, oh yeah, definitely. And then we have the Taxons. He's just like, the Taxons are evil. It's like, oh, are they now? Now... This is me getting into stuff from later in the series. They're not a very pleasant species, but they're not strictly evil.
Right.
Also, he should know this, but whatever. We're simplifying, I guess. And the idea is that the Hork-Bajir had to be taken over by force, and the Taxons became hosts willingly. And they actually had a good reason for that, but we won't know that for a long time. Okay. And so I'll go ahead and just include all the images on the screen. If you want to look at them. These are just taken from other books. So,
What is this about legless cockroaches? Is that in reference to the Yerk image?
Yeah, they describe them as legless cockroaches.
No, I think the ship looked like a legless cockroach, right?
Oh, right.
Oh, well, something. Yeah.
Something like that.
Either way, bad.
Chapter 5. Coleslaw is gross, just saying.
I don't like coleslaw.
I don't either. It's like too much mayonnaise. What the fuck is it in reference to? I think...
He says that they're gonna shred them up
coleslaw.
like coleslaw.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I'm like, coleslaw is gross.
Yeah, for a long time, I didn't, I had mentioned before, I read these books, like, out of order, and, like, I would skip ones occasionally. And so I never had, like, a picture of what the Hork-Bajir looked like. But they always described them as just, like, living lawnmowers covered in, like, these are, like, just a bunch of blades on a body. And, like, or, like, I think Marco calls them, like, killer salad shooters from hell. And so I just always imagine them as just, like, yeah, this is basically just a ball of spikes with legs. It's, like, not quite, but they are very spiky, I guess. But yeah, these aliens all come out, and then we have Visser 3, who is also an Andalite, but is one that has a Yerk in his head. And so it's described as, like, he steps out and they just kind of immediately feel like something's wrong here. Like, this guy is just evil. And
he is.
He's immediately just kind of starts monologuing, I guess you would call it.
A lot of good villain monologue that's conveniently overheard by the heroes.
Right. Yeah, because he's thought speaking just loudly to anybody around him. The kids start freaking out, like, "Oh shit, can he hear our thoughts?" And the other alien, Elfangor, says he tells them he cannot hear your thoughts as long as they don't direct them to him. And this is another just weird early installment thing. It's like, so the way thought speak works is you can choose who hears it, but they would definitely not be able to communicate with him currently, like, or he wouldn't be able to read their thoughts. You can't read somebody's thoughts at all. Like, that's just not a thing you can ever do.
You can project them too.
Yeah. And yeah, they can't do anything to him because they're not morphed, but whatever. Yeah, he's gloating. He's just like, we've been chasing you for a while. I don't know what you want to say. Just the usual crap like, haha, you have been defeated.
Right.
And yeah, this is Prince Elfangor Serenial Shamtul is his name. Andalites always have long hyphenated names like that.
I was gonna make
he's also
about the name, but I forgot to.
He's royalty, evidently, and it is.
He's actually not.
Long names. What?
Prince.
I called him Prince Elfangor.
Prince in Andalite culture is not actually a term of royalty. It is a status. It basically means that, like, he's a well-respected warrior.
Okay. I see.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like how in Hawaii they called everyone cousin as a term of endearment, even if they're not related.
Sure.
So in that case, it's okay to find you a cousin pretty. Okay.
Motherfucker.
But yeah, it's just like, you're a legend. It's an honor to meet you. And so I had to comment here like, dude, you've met. This is me being nitpicky because I've read other books in this series and she probably changed her mind later, but come on. But I also don't remember, maybe his memory got wiped after the incident I'm thinking of. I don't know. We'll find out eventually.
I do love it when it's retcons, right? I love retcons. You gotta
right.
that stuff is fascinating to me. So I don't know.
Nick, you have a comment here about the bad alien thing? No?
I can't find it.
It's after the Kasu in chapter 5.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I scrolled down to 6.
Yeah, this whole video is going to be a mess, but that's fine.
I just said that the fact that the bad alien comes out disguised as one of the good aliens that they just met must be like confusing for the kids.
It is
like, bet you wish you had listened to your moms and not cut through the construction site.
It is a little funny how it's almost as if it was written for like, this is going to be made into a series where we're only going to have a limited budget, so let's make it so that we can share one costume for both of these to use.
Yeah, kind of.
But it's also interesting because it really sells.
Is his morph of Elfangor, or
no?
So not right.
No, because he's not in morph. So Visser 3 is a title. The Yerk's name is Esplin.
Visser 3
I think
is not in morph.
No.
Oh no, you're right. He's possessing that way.
Yeah. So yeah, Visser 3 is the title of a Yerk who I think is named Esplin, if I remember right. That is infesting.
That's not a very threatening name.
Infesting an Andalite that we will learn the name of eventually. I won't say it now.
Okay.
And that Andalite has the ability to morph into other things. So it is confusing. You're dealing with, minds inside minds and lots of stuff. And yeah, this is a confusing situation. Like, you've just met this one alien and he's good, and you've met this other one of the same species and he's bad, but it's because, like, oh shit, he's infested.
Yeah. And
he's the only Yerk to ever get an Andalite host. For various reasons. Mainly just, they're generally strong, and also, like, I think it's shown eventually that, like, if they're ever in danger of that happening, they'll just kill themselves rather than get captured.
Yeah, I see.
But yeah, Visser 3 is, just kind of, like I said, monologuing for a bit, talking about
he's gloating about how they're gonna take.
Yeah, we're gonna have this planet and all of the humans on it. Elfangor's like, what do you even want with them? And he's like, there's so many, they're so weak, billions of bodies. With this many hosts we can spread throughout the universe, we'll be unstoppable.
I guess it's the combination of relative weakness with being able to use tools and technology as well, so they could still pilot ships and stuff.
Yeah, as a kid, I thought that sounded stupid. I'm like, you just said they're weak. Why do you want them? But it's like, they're weak-willed, I think is what he's trying to say. Like, they can't fight us back. But, I don't know. You have some math comments.
Yeah, so he mentioned, like, there's so many of them, we'll need 1,000 Yerk pools just for half of this population. And I'm like, okay, so 1,000 corresponds to 3.5 billion human bodies. So one Yerk pool maps to 3.5 million Yerks. And based on the description later for how fucking big the pool is, and how relatively small the Yerks are, maybe?
I'm guessing this is just, random numbers being thrown out and not actually accurate to anything, but it does raise the question of how far they've spread beyond this one town. I don't know if we ever actually get confirmation of other Yerk pools existing.
Interesting. I
should also say, for anybody listening to this who hasn't read the books, the name of this species is spelled Yeerk. It should be pronounced Yerk, but I've always heard it Yerk. And I could see it going either way, but I'm just going to go with how I've always heard it.
Yeah.
And it's like, the funny thing is there was a thing released at some point that has just like a bunch of names of like alien species and like other like terms and stuff, and it has like a pronunciation guide, and some of them are just absolutely wrong. But the one for this is just like, Yerk, and then in parentheses, Yerk in all caps. It doesn't tell you what vowel sound to use. It's spelled the exact same way.
That's unhelpful.
Wonderful.
So people joked like, oh, well, when you're referring to it, you just have to shout it, because obviously the pronunciation is in all caps, so...
Yerk!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh god, here's some technical shit about seramorphosis.
Oh yeah, okay. So I was comparing the Yerk pools to be like mind flayer breeding grounds, which based on what we see later, is not really the case at all. But yeah, I just kind of explained that the mind flayer tadpoles were like spawns that chill in acid pools until they're placed in a host that incubates them until they undergo seramorphosis and become a mind flayer. Similar to the Yerks, the tadpoles will bury into the brain from the ear or eyeball.
What is this from?
It's D&D
lore.
Okay.
Mind flayers, aka illithids. See, I thought that seramorphosis is when you turn into Michael Cera.
I mean, that's just Imgur.
No.
Oh, it sounds so sad. That was a shitty joke.
It's because I didn't expect it to go into be Michael Cera.
This is just reminding me of the thing I said a few weeks ago, where I'm just like, I'm gonna make up a person to get mad at. What if somebody, does react videos to like comedies things and just goes, "Aw," every time they make a joke. But anyway, so gloating ends basically, and he's just like, I've been tracking you down, and I'm finally going to be the one to take your life. And so they get into like a brief scuffle. Elfangor hits him with his tail once, but then he gets restrained. The blade ship just completely disintegrates Elfangor's ship with a Drakon beam. They basically just have lasers. I don't know why they have to have a fancy name, but it's like whatever. These lasers also have varying degrees of usefulness, as we'll find out. Here it's like they disintegrate this ship to like the molecular level, but later on it's just like, if it hits you, it'll cut through you. Like it'll scoop out whatever flesh it hits, but it's not going to just instantly make you disintegrate or whatever. But
yeah.
Anyway, he begins morphing into some, just horrifying, undescribed creature that is just gigantic and has like a bunch of tentacles and shit. And then he eats Elfangor. And we'll find out eventually that Visser 3
pretty horrifying.
Loves doing this. But
awesome.
Yeah, and the kids are forced to watch this as the, hero alien that they've just met who gives them this power struggles in vain to fight back and then just gets torn apart and eaten. And as they're watching this, they're kind of like cowering behind this wall, trying desperately to not be heard by the other aliens nearby. Rachel has a nice moment comforting Cassie and Tobias. Jake mentions, like, it's interesting to see. I forget what he says. Just something about like she had enough strength to like help these other people, and I just like that. It's a nice little moment.
Yeah.
So seeing this happen, Jake immediately grabs a length of pipe and tries to rush after it, and has to be like held back by the other kids. Which I mentioned is a very Ash from Pokemon thing to do.
It was also very like clickbait cliffhanger, because it was kind of like, oh shit, he's gonna attack. What's gonna happen? No, never mind. They pull him back.
So yeah, it happens. Elfangor dies and like lets out this like final cry as he dies, and they all have to hear it, and it's horrible, and it's like Jesus Christ.
Somehow they still don't get noticed, as you mentioned.
Well, not yet. They will soon. But yeah, there was also a shitty pun that you questioned here.
Right, yeah. Vista 3 says something about, now that's what I call taking a bite out of your enemies or something. He doesn't say it like that. It's not that cheesy.
Yeah, and then
there's no pun there as far as I'm concerned. That's literally what he did.
I don't know, whatever. It was there was basically no joke. He's just being he's a big ham. Like, we'll get to see plenty of this guy throughout the series, and he's always like this. Sorry. Wow, Rachel swears. She's so pretty.
Well, The book said something like Rachel said some words I didn't even know she knew or something. And I was all like, wow, Rachel swears. She's so pretty.
God. So they encounter some human controllers. I guess this is the point where I should mention the terminology on this is weird. So it's like a yerk in a human body is a human controller. It's controlling the human. It makes sense. But a lot of times they'll refer to the person themselves as being a controller, and it's like, no, they're like the control-E, but it's whatever.
Yeah, right.
The terminology is weird, but a few people show up.
I think they would just say, like, host or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jake recognizes the voice of one of them, but doesn't know who it is. Marco pukes, and then this attracts the attention of several of the Hork-Bajir, which start chasing them, and they have to basically split up and, run for their lives here, and amazingly, they somehow make it.
Yeah, they split up, and
it's mentioned that...
tense for a while.
Yeah, and then they kill a homeless guy.
Maybe. We don't know that for sure, but probably. So yeah, a few things about this scene. So they see these 5 kids who saw this happen, and immediately they're just like, okay, after them. They can't get away with this knowledge, and they try to kill them or whatever. But they fail at this, and it's a good thing nobody got really a good look at them or had a camera, because otherwise they'd be so fucked. They're definitely not going to be related at all to the Andalite bandits that'll show up in a few days. But
right.
Minor thing here, as they're running off, they mentioned that
Team Rocket.
Marco and Cassie are too short to be particularly fast, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. Marco is really short.
Because fast people can't be short.
I don't know. But yeah, I think they say that he's shorter than Cassie, and she describes herself as being 4 foot something. It's like, Jesus Christ, Marco.
They're kids. He hasn't had his growth spurt yet. They're like 11. Leave him alone.
They're 13. But yeah, no, he's just really funny, I guess.
I mean, girls usually get their growth spurts faster than boys, so it does make sense that he would be shorter than her.
Yeah. We have some brief alien language here of Gruffrash here, Gruffrash fit, enemy get, and just like Lee Tum Su Tavuk, General Scales. That the Hork-Bajir just do this shit where they splice together their own words with English. It's weird. I don't know why they do that.
And then I was like, we clearly need to learn this alien language and do the podcast episodes as a mix of that.
It's actually not that uncommon for like peoples from different linguistic backgrounds while working together to mix the thing. Though, if they're all Yerks, then I don't know why they would need to do that. But I guess Yerks can't talk, so...
Yeah, no, they can't talk in their base bodies. They have some sort of thought-speak style thing, I think, that, like, works when they're in the pool together. But
how do they get people to voluntarily accept them then if they can't even do a sales pitch?
Well, they do it from another host body.
Oh, I guess.
Yeah, to get into how this all started, if you want to know, on their home planet, they just kind of live in these pools, and eventually, one day, it's basically like a monkey. They're called Geds. I think they have 3 legs or something. One of these must have just fallen into a pool or something, and one of the Yerks just kind of learns that it can infest it, and it's just like, oh shit, I have sight now, and a body that can move. Let me go grab some more of these, and then dunk them into the pool, and then it kind of spreads from there. But yeah, they go to hide in some half-finished building. Jake manages to escape, but they run into some homeless guy along the way, and it just says, maybe that guy got away. I hope so, but I never found out.
God, yeah.
And so we might have our first human death of the series. I don't know. Who is Jazzy James?
it's referring to a patron that we have at work. His name is James, and he is quite eccentric, so we call him Jazzy James. And then at some point, he just kind of stopped showing up, and we don't really know what happened to him. And we just hope he's like fine. But he used to come every day.
I see.
Oh no, it got sad.
I mean, he's not like he has a home. He's not like a homeless guy. He's just like he was an older gentleman.
Right.
So
in chapter 7, I really like the start where Jake says, "I guess I should have had the worst nightmares of my life that night, but I didn't. The world of nightmares was a joke compared to my new reality." I just thought that was awesome. It's very evocative.
Yeah, that's a good line.
Be like, yeah, like a nightmare is like, you're sleeping, you're out, all this stuff's out of your control, but then you can wake up and feel some relief. But he can't have a nightmare because there's nothing to wake up to. There's no relief to wake up to.
yeah.
So yeah.
It's a dark new reality.
Yeah.
I didn't put this in the notes, but I'll mention, Jake gets away, and then when they get home, like when he gets home, he kind of calls around to the other kids and finds out that they all made it home. This is 1996. This is a pre-cell phone world, so we're in this point here where it's just like you kind of have to call the house of your friend and ask like, yeah. "Hey, is Marco home? Because he might be dead." Right. Like,
yeah.
But they all get back, thankfully, and Jake manages to fall asleep. And in the morning, he's woken up by his mom and is just like, "Hey, your friend Tobias is here." And he's like, "What the fuck?" Tobias comes in and he's like way more energetic than usual. And it's just like, I did it yesterday. Last night, I turned into my cat, Dude. Dude is a great name for a cat.
This is also when I solidified the fact that Tobias just is me, because I too would immediately go home and become my cat.
Well, you gotta.
Yeah.
I would have two to choose from. I wonder if I could become like a mix of both. If I could take both of their Ooh. Whoa. Okay.
This is done exactly once in the series, but you could.
I appreciate your enthusiasm.
I need to go get me some alien technology.
I'll look around the construction site, because we never found out what happened to the cube. Sorry.
I need to snap my fingers with enthusiasm.
Yes. Yeah, I pointed that out. It says that Tobias is just pacing back and forth, snapping his fingers with enthusiasm. I'm like, is that what people just do when they're excited?
Yeah.
So, yeah, Jake is strangely, not willing to believe that this is a thing that actually happened. He's like, "Come on, man, we had a rough night. You were probably dreaming." And then he's just like, "Okay, fine, I'll show you." And then Tobias turned himself into a cat. Funniest shit I've ever seen.
Yep.
Yeah, his clothes just kind of like fall around him, and then there he is, and he's like, "Oh, shit, okay. I guess it did work." And so we have a bit of just kind of a bit of a moment here, learning how all this works. We go over the thought speak and that kind of stuff, and it's I mentioned earlier, there's like a weird bit where Jake tries to thought speak to him while unmorphed, and it works even though it shouldn't. But this is that's not how it works later in the series, so it's just early installment weirdness. There's while Tobias is morphed, we see that he's like having a lot of cat thoughts. Like, he wants to chase after mice, and he asks Jake to find a string so he can play with it. And he's just like, "What are you doing? Like, look at you. You're playing with a string here." And he's like, "But it's so fun." He's like, "Okay, no. The cat thinks it's fun. Cut it out."
Well, he did still get the string for him.
Yeah, I like that. The string was it was in a drawer, and he's like, "This was from a birthday from 2 years ago." It's like, what the fuck
Okay.
Yeah, and then he's all like, I don't exactly keep my room very tidy. And I'm like, does that mean it's been like 2 years since you last tidied your room?
Well, the thing, it wasn't even like on the floor or anything. He had it in a drawer, so he clearly wanted to keep this string.
Good times.
I don't know. But yeah, it's interesting to me that this early on, before getting stuck as a hawk, he's already having thoughts about hunting mice. We'll see plenty of that later.
Right.
You have a comment on a line here.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, there's a couple things. Jake does continue past this and elaborate on what he means, but just reading out of context, Tobias, I think we're learning something here. On its own, made me laugh. Because I read that and I'm just like, fucking furry.
Oh my god.
And then not long after that, he changes back. And there's the line, the tail was sucked up like a snake going up a vacuum cleaner. Presented without comment.
Like, I was also going to comment on this line.
Just the absurdity of it, or
I don't know. It creates a weird mental image.
Yeah. I do like the image of just like, you know, there's like a snake slithering across somebody's floor, and they're like, "Oh shit, get it!" And they grab the vacuum and just goes.
I mean, if it works with ghosts.
I find that very offensive.
Let me find the part where we were here. We're still in chapter, right? But yeah, so you know, he morphs back to human and is naked, and he has to quickly get dressed again because they can't figure out. They're like, I guess we can't morph clothes. We'll have to figure something out for this.
Asterisk.
Yeah, that's it's weird. We'll get to that. But you know, he gets dressed. He gets dressed and then it's just immediately like, don't you get it? If I can morph, so can you. This is important. It's all true. And he like just starts getting like really intense all of a sudden. He's like, the Andalite gave us these powers for a reason. We have to use them. And you're going to be our leader. And he's like, what? I'm not the leader of anything. And he's just like, yeah, you are. And he's like, oh. It's just kind of this weird moment of like, I don't really understand why he gets forced into the leader position, but like he is the only one who had ties to everybody in the group beforehand. And as we see in the narration of other characters later, they always describe him as like, you know, if you were in a burning building, Jake is the type of person you would turn to ask what to do, and he would somehow have an answer.
So basically, Jake is a people pleaser.
I feel like that has a little bit of a different connotation, because he'll make decisions that still piss people off. He just, you know, he's there to make the call, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess it's like, I don't know if they necessarily need to have a leader, but in situations where everyone's like arguing over what do we do, I guess, you know, somebody to make the call is probably appreciated.
Yeah, that's kind of what leadership comes down to. There was a Overly Sarcastic Productions video about the trope of the leader in like a group the other day, and that was kind of one of the points mentioned.
Nick, you have a comment here.
Which one?
The peer pressured thing.
Oh, yeah, about how Jake was peer pressured into leadership despite Rachel being the girl boss who is actively taking a leadership role in the party currently.
Well, she's a girl. This is a 90s series with, you know...
Yes.
You can't have a girl leader unless all the characters are girls. It simply wouldn't do.
They did in Cyber Chase.
Allow it. Cyber Chase?
Yes. But no, I don't know. I don't think Rachel wants that responsibility, but then again, neither does Jake.
Yeah.
Way later in the series, I'm gonna say like, fuck, is it like book 32, 37, something? There's like one where Jake is away for a while and Rachel takes over, and it sucks. She cannot do it for for shit. But, That's also when she's in her more psychotic period, so...
Oh, goody.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, I have a comment on a weird line here. There's a part where it just says, "He looked at me with those deep, troubled eyes I can now see only in my memory." And I almost skipped this. Like, I almost didn't notice this, and I went back and I read it, and I'm like, okay, hold on. Eyes I can only see in my memory. So this is, like, implying that the whole book is kind of being written, like, after the events of the book have finished. And he knows what happened, and
wall breaky.
Basically, like, the way that the books are presented is kind of inconsistent, and maybe not inconsistent, but it's just weird because, like, every one of them is narrated by one character, and I guess it's supposed to be like a recollection of things that happened during that period, and it's not like, you know, like, as it's happening, it's being written. But I feel like it doesn't always stick with that. I don't know. I'll keep an eye on it and see if the perspective changes dramatically. Because I always felt that the intros to these books were really weird. They set the tone, but then you kind of have to immediately disregard it, because if we're...
the time they're just doing endings.
Well... I'm more so thinking, like, if we're supposed to believe that these are being written by the characters, like, right after these events happen, like, you know, but, like, you know, book 1 was written before book 2 occurred, that kind of stuff. Like, you know, why are they writing this down where the Yeerks can find this and be like, I can't tell you my last name or like where I live, but it's like, okay, well, we found it in your room. And it's you have your name here.
Okay, well, I always kind of assume with this stuff that, like, it's the same thing with, like, anytime there's first person narration in, like, a game or a movie where it's like talking about, like, you know, thinking back on it back then, I should have known. Like, they're not talking to anybody. It's a rhetorical device. They're just it's just being. It's like if you were, like, somebody in another dimension that was, you know, interested in the affairs of this person, which is essentially what we are. We live in a different reality, and we're, you know, reading about these affairs. Like, this is, you know, it's kind of just a hypothetical, I guess. It's like, if this person wrote an account, what would it...
That's kind of how I like to think of it.
Yeah.
That makes it a lot less weird than the whole idea of, like, you know, I can't tell you who I am, but, you know, I have a brother named Tom who's a controller, and I you know, my school has Chapman, who's a controller, and we live by the gardens, and, like, you know, all that. Like,
right.
we would know who this is. I would say the only thing I can think of off the top of my head that goes against the idea that you just presented is, I know there's a point where they describe a flea as being, like, not much bigger than a period on this page.
Okay.
Okay, well, they're communicating with you via writing.
Yeah. But, anyway. So they're like, okay, I guess we're going to do something. Let me test out morphing. Let me go find my dog, Homer. And you just kind of have a comment here about, like, you know, why do we so dramatically need this dog? But
yeah, before remembering what I was reading.
Yeah. Chapter 9 begins with, I petted Homer for a while, feeling like a complete and total fool. This is the stupidest thing I've ever done. Like, petting this dog is really dumb.
Yeah.
You wrote, at least we know that petting the dog would be an option in an Animorphs video game. So, yeah, he acquires
Nick
Homer.
wrote that to clarify.
Yeah. What was there? Yeah, he acquires the dog and then goes back up to the room to try morphing. And it's a fairly easy process. You just kind of think about it hard enough, and then it happens. And we get the first bit of, like, body horror on this. Which you wrote something on that if you want to write it, or if you want to.
There is a part where he's, like, becoming the dog, where, like, it mentions that his knees reverse direction and his spine lengthens into the tail, and, like, that's slightly unsettling.
Yeah, stuff like that happens a lot in these.
And it's interesting how they're like making the animal part of their brain like become part of their brain, where they kind of have to fight the natural instincts of the animal while they're doing their things, which makes for some very interesting and unforeseen consequences.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Right. Yeah, having to overpower the animal is always an interesting part of the book that leans more towards the antics side of things than the serious part, but it varies. It depends what the circumstance is.
Yeah.
I'll mention here last bit of like early installment weirdness or Cassie or whatever you want to call it of so Tobias has a cut on his finger from the previous night when he was like, acquiring his cat. That should have healed from the morphing process. As I mentioned earlier, that's just kind of how that works, is like, if you get injured as the animal, you can, go back to human and then become the animal again, and it's, good as new. But it works the same way with your human body. It's, if you have some sort of, like, injury or whatever, it's like, you're just kind of going back to, like, a save state almost. I don't know how it remembers things that aren't tied to your DNA, like your haircut and stuff. I've also seen in fanfic, like losing a circumcision.
Oh my!
Oh no!
So
God.
it's like, but I think in one of the later books, I think Rachel notes that like her ears are still pierced after morphing back. So I think it has something to do with just kind of like remembering how your body is supposed to be. It's it's whatever. You kind of just have to write it off as convenience.
It's like it's also interesting because like it has all these rules, but like it's very powerful. The fact that you can morph, and it does make me wonder, like, to what degree could they, if they trained it and studied it more, learn how to do more specific. I mean, you mentioned like the fusing stuff. Could they make a custom form? Could they make alterations to their form or other forms? Like,
It's morphin' time.
yeah,
there's a lot that could be explored, and they do explore a lot of it, but there's a lot that they don't, and it would be interesting to see how that would go, and that's, I guess, where fanfics come in. But anyway, a couple things breaking this rule are the thing with Tobias' finger that I mentioned, and when Jake becomes the dog, it mentioned that he is just like, I could sniff Tobias's shoe and tell that he walked through the territory of like another dog, and that dog was neutered, just like me. It's like, okay, so that didn't get healed in the morphing process apparently.
right.
And also he like knows things about this other dog because Homer knows about them, and that's not how that works. You don't get the memories of the animal. It basically, the cutoff is like the animal's base survival instincts and like how to use its body properly. So like, if it's a bird, it knows how to fly, or like you can kind of.
It almost makes me wonder, like, if that's because I mean, we've argued about this before, but like in theory, you're not actually, like, no one's actually able to have real long-term memories from before the age of like 3-ish. I wonder if it's that sort of thing where it's like you don't keep any of the long-term memories, but you can keep the stuff that would have developed in early development for like,
Yeah, it's interesting to think about. But yeah, those are the general rules, and so after this point, we're mostly going to be consistent with it. And because Jake has become a dog, I have at least 4 jokes I need to make in this scene. We have first, the professor of being a dog. Ooh, faced. Then we have, say it with me now. This is the one where it turns out they're all dogs or something. Then we have, this is a real good moral on this one. Don't be unlucky and be a dog.
Be a dog.
And Adam Sandler is in love with some girl, and it turns out that she's like a golden retriever or something. That one's especially good because Homer is a golden retriever.
Awesome. Oh my god.
But yeah, so, he becomes dog and is immediately overwhelmed by the dog brain, which is very hyperactive and just, wants to, sniff around on everything and, gets pet and, like, immediately goes, like, super happy and stuff. It's described as being that, like, it's very extreme with emotions. It's, like, either extremely happy or, like, really, really sad. And we see this in a minute where his brother Tom comes in and is like, bad dog. And he's like, I don't want to be a bad dog. But I especially love the sentence, and boy, when you get hungry in dog form, you are nuts on the subject of food.
What does that mean?
It's such a good sentence. But yeah, as I mentioned, Jake's brother Tom comes in the room and is just like, make the dog shut up. Mom's on the phone. Where's Jake? And he's just like, he's around somewhere. And dog Jake notices a strange smell coming from Tom. Doesn't know what it is. And Tom is being a jerk. And it's just like, just make him shut up. Being a bad dog. So immediately something kind of seems off with him.
Well, and doesn't he like say that he recognizes the voice, or like it sounds familiar from what he heard the other night? It's like, I thought it was very explicitly stated in this scene. Like, I thought that this was the reveal that Tom was a yerk.
I mean, this is when I figured it out. But
yeah,
the chapter 10, we have a lot more foreshadowing that is still not 100% confirmed, but like the reader knows at this point. Like, yeah, this is what's happening.
Jake's just a fucking dumbass.
I think he was just in denial.
Right, pretty much. Yeah, he morphs back, goes downstairs and is, talking with Tom for a bit, mentions that for a second he's like, do I tell him about the alien stuff? And he's like, probably a bad idea. Maybe don't do that. But he mentions the thing about the basketball team, which was a big deal before all this happened, where it's like, Tom used to be on the team. Jake wanted to do it because he looks up to him, and it's like, he's like, Tom will be proud of me if I get this. And he's like, I didn't get the part, or I didn't get the position. He's just like, oh, whatever, sports don't matter. It's like,
well, no, he was all like, what team? And then Jake's like, what team? And then I was like, what team? Wildcats.
What was that from?
High School Musical.
Oh, God.
Come on, Wildcats, get your head in the game.
But yeah, he's just like, what do you mean you don't care about the team? Like, this used to be really important to you. And he's just like, nah, things are much more important now. And Jake narrating is just like, I figured girls were what he was talking about.
Oh, you sweet summer child, you idiot.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he's just kind of suspicious of him at this point, but I guess still not knowing for sure that something's up. But the kids all decide to meet up at Cassie's farm.
Her parents are like conveniently like wild animal vets.
Right. Yeah, her dad runs the wildlife rehabilitation clinic, which just kind of like takes care of random injured animals that are found in the area.
Which absolutely do not include polar bears.
No. Like, yeah, it says here...
What is this bit, by the way?
Well, it says, me, I have a dog. Tobias has a cat. Cassie has everything from porcupines to polar bears.
Oh, yeah, no.
I mean...
Absolutely not.
That's an exaggeration, but yeah, it's kind of funny.
I just picked that up and I was all like, unless you're in northern Canada, you don't.
Right.
Yeah. Well, they might be, you don't know, except they totally aren't. What's this thing about Rachel looking at the sun?
Yeah, it just mentioned that she had her face turned up to catch the tanning rays of the sun. Like, do people do this?
If you're,
I mean, I don't get tanning to begin with, but like walking along, just being like, I'm gonna stick my face up.
I'm guessing this is less that and more like, last night was hell. And, here we all are, and I don't know how to deal with this yet. Just kind of like, standing there vibing. Like, just kind of waiting, like, okay, let's wait until we're all together for something to happen.
I guess.
So, They just kind of have a conversation on, like, okay... Oh, right, Cassie shows up as a horse. There's a moment where...
I'm a horse now!
She, starts demorphing. I think I'm going out of order here, but whatever. She starts demorphing, and Jake is, like, gonna look away, but then notices that she, like, somehow has, like, a leotard on. And so she just mentions, like, yeah, I found that if you're wearing something skin tight, you can morph it with you.
I'm guessing the idea is just, it stretches with your body as it changes, but I don't think it would work in all cases, right?
It's basically an excuse to, not have to have a bunch of teenage kids running around naked.
Have the children be naked, cowards.
God.
Yeah, the rule is basically if it's skin tight, you can morph it, and so this basically leads to later in the series, Rachel and Cassie will have like leotards or whatever, and the boys just kind of wear like really tight t-shirts and like bike shorts or something.
Okay.
And they still have to.
I was wondering if it was going to be like a bodysuit or some shit.
They still have to like go out in public with this shit, so sometimes they'll wear something else over it, but it leads to weird situations, and they can't morph shoes, so they always have to go everywhere barefoot. Anyway, I think, like I said, I think we're going out of order here. They're talking about, like, what do we do? Do we try to, like, actually fight back? And Marco's like, fuck no. Like, we learn a little bit about Marco here that his mom died a couple years ago, and his dad just kind of like completely shut down afterward, and Marco is basically saying, like, if something happens to me, he's just gonna kill himself. I can't let that happen. And so he doesn't want to get involved
like
at all.
valid.
Yeah. We know about Cassie. Like I said, her dad runs the thing, and her mom works at the zoo at the gardens. Jake's family's fairly generic. We'll learn about Rachel's next book. It's not super interesting. There's a bit here where they're like, oh yeah, they find a newspaper that says that the cops are looking for like a group of kids that were setting off fireworks and,
Right.
spreading a rumor that aliens landed. And they're like, what is this? Why are they covering this up? And it's like, well, because the people writing the paper and like the cops are probably controllers.
Mm-hmm.
And
People in the media.
there's a great bit here. If the police have been infiltrated by the controllers, who knows how many others have too? Teachers, people in the government, and Marco says math teachers for sure, which is so perfect because of the line from Futurama with Lur saying, we will begin with the firemen, then the math teachers, and so on in that fashion. Like,
Yeah, it's a good joke. The, implied conclusion that you're supposed to come to that is not actually logical at all. And
right.
I think it's because math teachers are evil.
Well, apparently Marco
I think
says
that's the
so.
implication.
I had to point out this sentence. Cassie and I have been here for a while, Rachel said by way of explanation.
I also question that, but I'm like, maybe that's valid. I feel like I've maybe seen that before.
It just seemed really weird.
Speaking of things to question, I noticed, I pointed out, Marco suddenly sat down very hard. He had never seen a morphing. I may have misread this.
What did you misread it as?
I
Just like,
I
Marco
was
suddenly...
also wondering what you misread it as until you read it out loud, and I was like, oh,
I
was
misread
not
it as
hard.
Marco suddenly sat down. He was very hard. He had never seen a morphing.
Fucking hell.
I suddenly became very into this. You prefer people.
Or just, shape-shifting TF, whatever you call it.
Now, see, meanwhile, I'm not, so cum-brained that I read this, and my takeaway from it was... What?
Excuse me, I'm not covering.
I'm sorry. I immediately thought of, like, you know, him sitting down very hard, and I'm like, this is reminding me of a scene in Shrek where Fiona just drops onto a rock really fucking fast, and it always stood out to me as, like, I don't know. Anyway, we have cat noises.
Yeah, so he's being a whiny baby because I was laughing too loud and it woke him up from his nap.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm sorry, buddy.
So yeah, like I said, I kind of got this out of order. Cassie was still in horse for a lot of that conversation, and she's starting to unmorph, and it reveals, like, she has some ability to control it more than the others do. This will be shown more later in the series. She just kind of inherently is good at it. It's what they call...
Because she likes aminals.
They call it an estrine. But,
oh, okay.
This is important to know. You gotta know the terminology.
Yes.
But, so she's halfway through changing from horse to human when a cop shows up, and they're like, oh, fucking goddamn, okay, hide her behind, and, you know, they, like, kind of form a human wall to block her from view, and the cop's like, what are you guys hiding here? And they're like...
the cop literally walks up, and he's all like, hey, guys, are you hiding anything? And they're all like... No.
Well, because they're being super obvious about it, and so he's just like, what are you guys hiding? And they're like, nothing. It's like, step aside, and they do, and it's just like, oh, okay, it's some girl wearing a leotard barefoot in the middle of a barn. Weird, but okay. And...
yeah.
Protecting her modesty.
Yeah.
The cop immediately starts questioning them. Do you know about the kids setting off the fireworks? And they're like, no. And,
right.
You know, just starts being a pain in the ass, and then he recognizes Jake, apparently because he looks similar to Tom, and he's like, I know Tom from the sharing. You should come there.
Hey, kid, join my cult.
Yeah, I think the sharing was established, like, in the last chapter that Tom goes to it,
Tom
and it's like,
it.
It's some sort of just, like, place for teens to hang out.
You're gonna come to my club.
Yeah.
It's a teen zone.
Like, you know,
Plus cops.
We do all sorts of great stuff. And
like, have meetings and
play volleyball.
Share.
Right. Then we have kind of a pointless bit here with Dead Zone. I
don't know. I'm just fixating on the video game stuff again. Like, they're like, oh, we tried to. I think it's like Marco and Jake are going home. Like, we were trying to discuss, like, what video game we're gonna play later, and who's gonna be who in Dead Zone 5.
Yeah, Dead Zone 5. Who's gonna annihilate who? And it's a PC game played on CD, and
with joysticks.
Right.
And it's. I was trying to figure out what it is. I'm like, I hear competitive game between the two of them, and I'm thinking, like, fighting game. But you, Nick, you said, like, you thought zombie shooter, and I'm like, well, I don't know about zombies, but actually shooter makes way more sense. It's probably like a Quake or an Unreal Tournament type of deal.
Yeah, I said just based on the name, the first impression I got was zombie shooter, but that was without knowing that it was, like, competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't really play PC games in the 90s, so I don't really know what kind of stuff was popular at the time, or even, like, you know, how good the technology was yet, but, you know, Doom was already a thing, at least, so.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, they're doing that for a bit. Oh, did you have more?
No.
Okay. Tom comes in and is just, you know, kind of doing the same crap as before. Like, hey, you know, you kids wouldn't be...
You gotta come to my club.
Yeah, you would never, like, go through the construction site, right? And they're like, no, definitely.
We would never do
you
that.
hear about those kids? If you know anything about them, you should tell somebody. It's really dangerous. Also, you should come to the sharing. It's really cool. And so he leaves the room, and Marco's like, yeah, he's a controller. And Jake immediately punches him in the head and starts
literally, like immediately throws hands.
Yeah. He's just like, how dare you say that? He's like, fucking listen to the guy. And so yeah, they get into this fight. I think Marco like wraps him up in a blanket and sits on him and is like, I'm not getting off until you listen to me. He's like, okay, fine, maybe, but let's find out for sure. So we need to come up with a plan here. Am I getting ahead of myself here? Like, because this isn't when they decide to go to the meeting, right? I don't know.
No, they don't know about the meeting yet, I don't think.
Okay.
I think they do, because they've been told you should come to the meeting.
Oh, maybe. They decided to go to the meeting in chapter 13, and we just got to chapter 12.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
I think he's just arguing over and being in denial about Tom being a controller.
That goes on for a bit.
Tom would never let this happen.
Right. I'm sure he would have the ability to stop it. Anyway, Tobias shows up in hawk form, and they're just like, how long? Like, where'd you get a hawk from? And he's just like, there was an injured one in the barn, and this is where they established that morphing heals injuries. And they're like, you probably shouldn't stay in that form for too long. You got to make sure you don't get trapped. And he's just like, but I like it. It's cool.
Yeah, and then we get into the obvious foreshadowing of Tobias.
Yeah, and so Tobias ends up naked in Jake's room for the second time today. They head out. I'm trying to remember what the hell they're doing at this point. I don't think they're going to the meeting yet. Maybe. But this is where there's a couple things going on here. Like, I said that at this point in the story, Tobias kind of seems like the coolest character because he's dead set on finding some way to fight them back. He's just like, I have nothing to lose. I don't have a family. Like, my life kind of sucked before this. If I can make a difference, I'm going to try to do it. And
he stands out from the rest of the group as like having not even more of a stake in it, just like, I don't know.
I feel like he doesn't have anything to lose. So, like, this is an adventure. Right. This is something more exciting, something to bring him out of his, like, depressive life. Like he talks about the hawk and he's, like, flying and he's, like, it gives him so much freedom. He loves to spread his wings. He loves being able to fly. He loves the freedom that
he loves the thermals.
Thermals, yeah!
Yeah, thermals.
This is going to be an ongoing thing. The books are obsessed with thermals. They are pockets of warm air that allow you to easily rise up high if you are a bird. And they get mentioned in every single book. And the fan base has kind of made them into a running gag. But, so I mentioned that, Tobias was always kind of a fan favorite, and just looking from this book on its own, I can see why. Marco is kind of being whiny and annoying at this point, but at least it makes sense for his character. It's like, what kid is going to suddenly be like, yeah, I'm going to be willing to die to fight off these aliens and shit. It's like, obviously, he doesn't want to just immediately do that. But he also provides a very good reason for why immediately going into full hero mode isn't the best idea, because he's just like, so, what do you do if you, are stuck in a situation where you're forced to kill Tom because he's a controller? Will you be able to go through with that? And it raises a lot of questions.
And Jake is just like immediately I never thought of that.
Because there's no, we don't know yet that it's possible to like, there's a kind of a, we don't know that they have to, it gets established later they have to leave every so often, and it's like there's an opportunity to try to rescue them. But
yeah,
we don't know that yet, so.
So yeah, I guess at this point they do actually decide to go to this meeting. There's some like nighttime beach event happening where they're going to be playing volleyball and having a barbecue and stuff, and Tom's been bugging them to go, and he's just like, yeah, you know what, let's go. That way I'll be able to tell if this is actually like a front for something or if it's just normal people having a good time.
Which I pointed out is a horrible idea, right? Like, obviously, like, this is
walking into a trap. Yeah.
it's a little bit of a bad idea.
I mean, it turns out to not actually really be a trap, though.
No, but it easily could have been.
Yeah. It depends. It depended on what kind of meeting it was.
Yeah, so they get there, and there's bonfires on the beach. Which is...
I wrote the note, I don't even want to say it, but yeah, this is stupid.
It's just a stupid thing from Homestar, just bonfires on the beach and people start to dance.
Which I hate that but I had to point it out.
They hang out for a while, and there's, like, they're basically just like, maybe this is just, like a normal... he describes it as like a co-ed Boy Scouts. It's just like, it's just people having fun. These don't seem like aliens. And Tom comes up to him and is like, like, wasn't this a lot of fun? You should become a full member. I've got a different meeting to go to in a second here. Once you get up in the ranks, they'll do something that'll change your life. Or something. He's really weird and mysterious about it. And as he's saying this, it says, like, for a split second, Jake kind of sees, like, his face change and just suddenly, like, try to, like, warn him that this is a bad idea. And, like, it's just for, like, quarter of a second, and then changes back as if nothing happens. And he's just like, well, shit, okay, yep, he's gone. And it's very sad to imagine. God.
It's like I made a note here about, like, it's horrible, like, from Tom's perspective too, because, like, we've also established now that they are conscious while the thing is controlling them and know what's going on. And, like, how horrible is it knowing that you're actively luring your brother into the same fate as you while desperately hoping he'll realize that something is wrong and, like, somehow save you, even though, like, how the fuck is he gonna save you?
Right.
Yeah.
It's a very desperate and hopeless situation.
It really is, and this is where a lot of the darkness of the series comes in. There's a lot of physical violence and things like that, but there's also just a lot of, mental stuff like that. I don't know what you call it, yeah. And as I wrote, hey kids, if you want some more tragic moments of people trying to fight against their yerks, just stay tuned for the next book. That's going to be kind of the focus of that one.
Oh boy. Yeah.
So what was wrong with In the Surf?
They just said something about they just used the phrase "in the surf," and I'm like, "What the?"
It was very casual. It was like they were playing volleyball in the surf or something.
Right.
Yeah, it's not a phrase.
Sure, it is. The surf. It's like, the
beach,
the part where the water's coming up, and I don't know.
It's the shore.
No, the shore is like the whole thing.
But I don't know. Whatever. So, ironically, right after this happens, Marco is like, okay, I guess you were right. He isn't a controller. This is all just normal people. And Jake's like, no, it is. We need to infiltrate this. We need to infiltrate this special meeting that the, high-level members are going to and figure out what they're doing. So, Jake decides to morph the dog again, and he's just like, nobody will notice a stray dog wandering the beach. Which I feel like they
we pointed out was like, they might not notice
it's not just any stray dog. It's
but Tom might notice his own dog.
Right.
Yeah, that's hopefully
it never comes up. It's fine.
It doesn't come up, and also, like, I don't know, a golden retriever doesn't have a lot of distinguishing features. It might just be another similar looking dog, but still.
Yeah, but does it morph with the collar though?
No.
I guess not.
Well, apparently, he became unneutered in the process too.
That's fair.
So, Tom comes over. Sure that dog has a dick. So.
Well, he would still have a dick.
They don't cut it off completely.
If they get rid of the balls.
Whatever.
God, it's like you've never been neutered.
I know, right?
Fucking hell. jumping from that conversation, just a bit of clarification here, just based on something in the notes, as you were asking if they can only morph the last thing they touched. And, no, it's... Whenever you acquire an animal, you store it in your, like, collection. Yeah, and you can pull anything from it later. And, yeah, it's about a cooldown period. There isn't really... You can go from animal to human to another animal immediately, but it's very strenuous.
Yeah.
I think they describe it as, like, having to do that quickly makes it feel like you've run, like, 10 miles. Yeah, you can... There's the 2-minute clock, but you can, unmorph and then go back to have another 2 hours. It's just a matter of, how much energy you have, basically. There's a bit where Jake is, kind of sneaking around, wanting to get close, and he's like, well, it would attract attention if I went around acting like Spy Dog. So I should act natural. And so I had to write in, the reason I hate Spy Dog is because it's not about a spy or a dog. It's about a fucking kid.
And then I looked up what Spy Dog and found a book series that was not at all what he was referring to, but fits the quote.
Good.
Yeah. Mine was just a stupid reference to Red Letter Media.
Yeah.
So,
and I mentioned, like, okay, yeah, I guess he can sneak around, like, or like walk close without, just act like a stray dog, and that would mostly work. But like, I really feel like the possibility of Tom seeing the homomorph is not good enough concern. They do mention it, but they're just kind of like, eh.
We don't have any other animals yet. What are we gonna do? We have to find out.
I wish you had that dolphin.
We'll get to the dolphin later. God, we're closing in on 2 hours here, and we've still got like a third of the book left.
Oh, really? God,
Yeah.
I thought it was only an hour and a half. I'm wondering if we should cut it in half.
Well, I'll figure that out later.
Okay.
So, anyway, yeah, he listens in on it, and they're all basically just talking about, like, we need to find those kids at the construction site. They're gonna fuck everything up, and Tom says, like, I think my brother Jake might have been there. I don't know for sure, but we should try to infest him just in case, and kill him if we can't. And it's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Immediate murder.
And I'm just like, I read this, and I'm like, that seems like a horrible security risk, just killing random kids because you think they might be involved in this thing. Like, their families are gonna
get too many eyes on you.
And then I find out in the next chapter that the cop basically said that exact thing. It was just like, we're not gonna just start killing people. Like, it would attract too many eyes, like you said.
Yeah.
But yeah, he knows now for sure that Tom's a controller. I guess he already knew that. And they see their assistant principal Chapman there, and he is apparently in some high position, and so he's going to end up being a major character, for better or worse.
Right.
But
Great.
Yeah, we'll be seeing a lot.
Mr. Chapman, but he was nice.
I probably made a comment at some point in a stream from like 4 years ago, if I'm guessing, where you mentioned this, and I'm just like, oh shit, was he a controller? And you didn't know what I meant.
Probably. Yeah.
But yeah, so I had like nothing in chapter 15. I don't know what the hell happened here. I guess this is just like they're figuring out what to do.
Yeah, they were plotting their lizard thing.
Oh right, Cassie starts walking along the beach, getting close to the meeting, and the cop is just like, "What are you doing there?" And she's just like, "I'm just looking for seashells." She's like, "This is for members only. You get out of here." But now he has his eye on her.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of share the information. They're trying to figure out what do we do. And it's kind of the stuff I said earlier about how, like, Marco doesn't want to get involved. Jake is fully motivated now because he wants to save Tom. Tobias is in. Rachel seems to want to fight,
and it's kind of interesting for her character because like she doesn't seem to have like a specific motivation yet. But
I mean, Tom is also her cousin.
Yeah. But yeah, she's very gung ho. As we'll be seeing later on. Cassie's currently undecided on the whole thing, which also kind of makes sense because she's a lot gentler. We haven't seen a lot of Cassie yet in this book, and I already feel bad for like kind of ragging on her in part 0. I like Cassie well enough. She's kind of like, you know, the quiet, gentle one. But like, you know, she's sweet. I like her. It's only annoying when she raises weird moral concerns that have nothing to do with anything. When that comes up, it sucks. But most of the time, she's fine.
When that happens, I'm just gonna be like, Cassie, shut up.
Yeah, basically. So they're like, all right, what do we do next? How do we find where the Yerk pool is so we can, you know, try to do something useful? And they decide we need to follow Chapman, and Jake decides to get a lizard morph. So he looks around in Cassie's barn for a while until they find one, and then he acquires it off screen.
Yay, lizards.
And so I was like, oh, this is interesting. They mentioned the specific type of species it is. It's a green anole that Cassie suggests. And I'm like, okay, let me look up where these are, because that, you know, maybe I can glean something from it. And I'm like, okay, Wikipedia says it's native to the coastal parts of the Carolinas, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas. So they probably live in one of those states. And then I was really looking forward to like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, keep this in mind and cross-reference with other stuff that they mentioned morphing into. It's a bit more specific. We can kind of try to narrow it down to like which state it is specifically, and then
I immediately put an end to that. I'm like, no, they're in California. You find this out in like one of the last books, but I didn't think it was really that interesting to be worth holding on to.
And then I was like, and then Cassie's parents definitely didn't work on no damn polar bears.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like we know they live by a beach, walking distance from a beach, so it's got to be a coastal state, and they're also near a big forest, as we'll see, and like it basically had to be West Coast, and yeah, we find out confirmed eventually it is California. But
right.
So the next day, this is the first day that Jake has to go back to school after learning about the existence of aliens and shit. First period, he's like, I'm going to just skip class and shove myself into my own locker and then morph lizard and then try to figure out where to go from there. And he has not practiced the lizard morph yet. And like, as he's in there, he's just like, man, I really should have practiced this. I'm like, yeah, why the fuck didn't you? Like, what if something went wrong and now you're just stuck in your locker? Like,
yeah,
dumbass. But you know, it works. He shrinks down, and immediately the lizard starts freaking the fuck out, and is just, you know, very skittish and feels trapped. But you know, also it wants to get out, but it doesn't want to go out into the light because light is dangerous. But he, you know, overcomes it, goes out of the little slits, and has to adjust to weird lizard vision with his eyes on the side of his head and like clinging to a vertical surface, and
right,
it's weird for a bit. But he starts running around and encounters a spider. You wanna take over here?
Oh, no. So this fucking lizard brain asshole sees this spider and can't fight his tiny little lizard brain. And despite him wanting to, like, human brain is actively like, no, oh god, body, don't do this, holy shit. And the lizard brain is overriding it and forcing a live, living, wriggling, squirming, eight-legged spider down his throat. And like,
yeah, I swear he was just like, no.
like Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and it's described as like, you know, being in this tiny lizard body. I could see, you know, all its 8 eyes and its horrible pincers, and like, and then suddenly it was in my mouth. It's like, oh, that's pleasant.
I'm jumping ahead here, but on the subject of the horror of this, in the next chapter, there's just like casually the spider in its lizard belly like kicks the inside of its body, and I'm like, why did that need to be included? That has been the worst body horror so far. Yes.
Oh.
I know.
Well, if you're looking forward to characters in Morph either eating spiders or being eaten as a spider, you can look forward to books 10 and 20.
I don't look. I don't.
I don't look.
And I just wrote in here, I should share my horrible spider story.
Awesome.
This is, I would say probably the worst jump scare I've ever had. There was just some video I found online. It's just, you know, some girl just like sitting there or like standing in front of the camera or something, just kind of looking there, smiling or whatever, and then opens her mouth and a giant spider crawls out of it.
Oh yeah.
God. No.
Yeah, you told me about this.
It was, I was so close to fucking like, you know, doing the thing like from that one video where the guy like punches the screen. Like I saw this, I'm just, like I like fucking jumped so bad. Like,
yeah,
terrible. Why would you do this? Like, I'm normally not that arachnophobic. I normally can't speak either. It's like, I don't love spiders, but...
What's wrong, spider? Got your tongue?
God. Fuck off.
Sorry.
Dying.
Insert reference to Spider's Georg here.
Yes.
But, yeah.
You saw an NFL the other day.
I did. Anyway, moving on. So, he, you know, after the spider incident... He sees someone walking down the hall, and by sheer coincidence, this is Chapman. Chapman steps on his tail and breaks it off, but it was apparently a complete accident. He didn't try to stomp on the lizard or anything. But yeah, he's like, I can't really tell.
I have an objection to that.
Go on.
Like, I feel like you would have to step on the lizard's tail for longer than a stride, you know? I guess if the lizard panicked enough. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But
maybe it was as he was opening a door or something.
Maybe.
Right. But yeah, by sheer coincidence, this happens to be Chapman, and Jake just kind of starts following him. I don't think he even knows that it's him for sure yet, but he's just like, oh, let me follow this guy.
I think he hears the voice and it's familiar or something, and that's why he sticks with it.
Yeah. He goes into some janitor closet and, like, fiddles with some shit. He, like, turns a faucet and, like, turns some, like, hook on the wall. And it just opens up a secret door. And suddenly we hear the noises of screaming from, like, you know, far below the school. And it's like, oh, awesome. It's hell on earth.
Yeah.
But, so now we know where the Yerk pool is. It's just kind of under their school.
Conveniently.
Yeah.
I'm like, the Yerk pool would conveniently be under the main character's school.
Right.
Right.
What the hell is the... Yeah, here we go. Just the first note we have for Chapter 18. This is, you know, after he... Oh, actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk about the skipping school thing.
Yeah, I mean, he mentioned, like, he was skipping class and stuff, and it just prompted me to think, like, you know, I've never skipped class. I know that obviously people do it. I always struggled to imagine how you could get away with it. It's one thing if you, like, you know, are responsible for going to school on your own and you just straight up don't go to school and you skive off. That's one thing. But if you're in school and you're skipping classes, I don't know how you would get away with that. Because at least at my school, like, on the few occasions where I did legitimately have, like, a free period, this is the more a thing in secondary school than in college, not university college. Because in that one, it's more normal to just have free periods or whatever and no one gives a shit what you're doing. But for secondary school, it was like, you know, you had a period every single, you had a lesson every single period, like 99% of the time. There was very few circumstances under which you could have a free period, from my experience. And every time I did, you know, we would like go to a computer room or something to like do something else, and very frequently, like on the way there or in the computer room or wherever we were, like, you know, a teacher would show up at some point and just be like, "What are you doing?" Like, I don't know. Maybe this is just a matter of scale or something. Because my school only like there weren't that many corridors, so it's like there would be people coming and going. And I don't know necessarily if teachers were outright patrolling. But I feel like, you know, occasionally there would be people going between stuff, and if they saw a kid that wasn't in like a lesson, they would ask you. So I don't know how you would get away with it, really.
We had spare periods in high school. We would usually have one a day that we would use to like do homework, but like the one time I skipped class in high school, I just hid in the bathroom.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I've never tried to skip class or anything, but for me it always seemed less about like people seeing you in the hall or whatever, and more so just, you know, not being there when they take attendance.
That's also true, yeah.
Like, I don't really know how you would consistently get away with that. Because,
yeah, I guess it would have to just be, like, if they told your parents and your parents didn't care or something.
I guess. Yeah, because for me, it's like, I took off school quite a bit, especially when I was younger. It would always just be because my family would let me. I would just be like, you know, I don't feel like going in. Can you, like, you know, say I'm sick? And they would just do that. And I always would try to, like, play the part, though. Like, you know, if when I would come back in, I'd, you know, have to have like a cover story, like, oh yeah, you know, I had a cold or whatever. I felt like you couldn't just not go; you would get in trouble. So,
yeah, I skipped school a lot in 7th grade because, well, we had two teachers where like one would teach half of the week and one would teach the other half of the week, and the second teacher, I absolutely hated her. She did not like me either, and also my mom didn't like her. It was just none of us liked each other. It was horrible. So I would sometimes just like walk home at lunch and not come back because I just lived like across the field, and then the school would call my house and I would be there because I got home before my parents did, and I would answer the phone. And then like one time I skipped school for an entire week before like they called my mom's work.
Damn.
And I finally got found out. And then I got grounded. But, you know. Well, I mean, I was being a shit. I was skipping school. I should have been grounded.
I should have mentioned this earlier with the grounding, when the grounding thing came out the first time, but like, there were a few times when I was a kid when my mother threatened to ground me, and I was always like, you can't do that. That's only a thing in America. I don't know where I got this into my head, but I was just like, that doesn't happen. Because I never heard about it.
My 7th grade school skipping was also in the era of when I was like 12 and watching Josh's videos all the time. So I would literally skip school to sit on my new computer and watch probably the Sunshine
Awesome.
LP.
Damn.
Fucking awesome.
It all comes around.
What an honor.
Yeah, you contributed to my delinquency.
Nice.
And just think, if you hadn't done that, it wouldn't have gotten on your permanent record, and then you wouldn't have been, you know, banned from doing insert thing here that you wanted to do. But,
yeah.
I will take the time, you know, while we're massively off subject here, to just mention that I also don't really get grounding because I never left the house anyway. So
that's another thing. I feel like nowadays, like teenagers especially, have limited power to even do that until they are able to drive themselves anyway, right? In America especially.
Yeah. I mean, my parents took away my, like, electronics, so, like, they would take away, well, for a while, like, I didn't have a phone until I was, like, in high school, but they would take away, like, my video games and stuff. But then I was like, well, I like reading, so I just read. I'm like, oh no, right. I get to catch up on my books? Oh.
It is strange, because, like, depending on the kid, you know, having that stuff, like you said, like you had other options.
Yeah, like
But
I was
can imagine a parent being like, well, at least they're doing a thing that's, seen as more of a punishment to be restricted to doing. But it's like, I mean, back before electronics and stuff, like, did they take away books so you had to just do nothing?
Hell,
your thumbs?
Martin actually said that, when he would get in trouble, they would take his books away. So,
huh? That's just strange to me.
So, getting back on track, we are at 2 hours and 4 minutes. Jesus Christ.
Can make it in 3 hours, guys. Let's go.
Yeah, I know. We need to, because this is crazy.
So, I was saying, Tobias would not say rat's rear, come on, because he says that, and I don't think he would say that. I think he would actually say rat's head.
Shut up.
Rat's
rear. It is a good line, though. Yeah. Rachel's like, I have a family. We all do. Tobias is like, not me. It's true. No one gives a rat's rear about me. And then Rachel says, I do. And Jake is surprised to hear this. And I made a note of that because it's I never really noticed this early on that there was like a thing with Jekyll. Holy shit. Jekyll better not be the shipping for Jake and Rachel. But yeah, between Rachel and Tobias. Because it's a little understated. God damn it, Jekyll.
I prefer Rake.
Rake.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Rake.
This chapter is in the PDF 1.5 pages long. Not much happens in this one. We have a moment with Cassie being like, back in the old days, people used to believe animals had spirits, and they would call on the spirits to help them against evil, and I guess we're doing that.
It's basically like that.
Yeah, Marco's just like, okay, are we gonna, Yeah, what did you say? He's like, good grief, let's go buy some Birkenstocks and hug some trees.
It's a Birkenstocks.
Yes.
I wonder how true that even is, the stuff Cassie's saying. Like, how specifically true it is.
Not sure. But they agree that they need to get some combat morphs. And so they're like, let's go to the gardens. I've mentioned the gardens before. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be Busch Gardens, which is it's like do you call it a brand of amusement park? It's like Six Flags. And they have like, it's an amusement park with rides, and it's also like a zoo. And that's where Cassie's mom works as a vet. So she's like, yeah, I can probably get us in there. We'll all have to pay, though. I have like an employee discount. But Marco makes some joke here, like, oh, we can talk them into letting us in for nothing. Just tell them that we're the Animorphs. Idiot teenagers with a death wish. And so it's like, oh shit, title drop, but they do actually start referring to themselves as that from this point on, and this is just where he came up with the name. And the idiot teenagers with a death wish seems to be like a slogan that people in fan groups use.
Right.
It reminded me of a team of teenagers with attitude from the Power Rangers.
Right. So they take a bus to the gardens, and they're having to pool their money together to pay to get into this place. Good thing they actually have money. I never had an allowance. But these kids are constantly going to the mall and shit, and Rachel is, like, into fashion and is constantly buying new clothes. Like, I don't know how the hell she has so much money.
Rich parents.
Yeah.
Isn't her dad a doctor or something, or Jake's dad is a doctor?
Jake's dad is a doctor, Rachel's mom is a lawyer.
Oh, yeah, rich parents.
Yeah. So, they get there, Jake's just talking about the various exhibits. He mentions there's like an entire monkey city. And I'm like, what if the monkey city, comes into play in 30 books? That'd be great, but no, it doesn't happen. Couple random notes here. I don't know if we want to worry about them too much. But they're like, we need to sneak around into
this is when Rachel gets obsessed with the dolphins.
Almost.
Yes.
Yeah, they kind of just go into like this back door, and it's like, here's just these long hallways with like people patrolling in golf carts, and
we're definitely not supposed to be here, but I can just claim that I'm looking for my mom. And if I actually find my mom, then let's just hope that I don't. And they wander around for a bit, and they find the gorilla exhibit. And I didn't
Big
make...
Jim, I think is his name.
Yeah, Big Jim. I like this little bit here. I didn't actually make a note of it. Of Rachel bats her eyes at Marco and is like, "How about you? Haven't you always wanted to be a big hairy guy?"
What the fuck?
Yeah. Rachel like fake flirts with Marco a lot. She doesn't actually like him, but she likes to just...
She likes the attention because she's so pretty.
She likes to like get a rise out of him, I think. Jake jokes like, "Oh no, you need to do something, easier for a first morph. Get a cuddly little koala." And he's like, "Fine, I'll get the fucking gorilla." So he goes in, and the gorilla is extremely chill, and he acquires it. And ideally, they all should, because it doesn't hurt to have as much stuff as you can. But they're immediately stopped by just some guy who comes by and sees them. And
there's also the fact that the animals get put into like a trance when they're getting the DNA.
Yeah.
Which is interesting and is like...
Yeah, they go into a trance for like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
I swear later in the series they start establishing that like bigger and like stronger animals don't have the trance last as long. But I don't remember. But yeah, I love this plan of just, hope we don't get seen, hope they don't care.
Right.
They get spotted by...
That is a pretty accurate plan for children.
Right. Marco gets the gorilla, none of the other ones do. They wander a little bit further, and they're like, "Okay, here's like a 4-way intersection. Where do we go?" And Cassie's like, "Well, over in this direction is the jaguar and the dolphins." And Rachel's just like, "I like dolphins," and starts going in that direction immediately.
Like, just fucks off.
And Cassie's like, "Wait, what how's that going to be useful for us?" And I love it.
I should not be wasting time with this aside, but who is it that pronounced it Jaguar?
A lot of people say jaguar, and I don't know why.
Oh, okay.
Jaguar.
Yeah.
I think in British English people say jaguar, like
Jaguar.
3 syllables.
Jaguar. Sorry.
I mean, that's fine. I don't know why there's so much inconsistency over how to say that. But
Yeah.
Anyway. So yeah, she goes to do that. Immediately some other guy spots them. It's like some old man. And he's just like, "Hey, come back here, you damn kids." And, they start easily running away from him.
Skedaddle.
But yeah, they split up, and Jake and Marco go one way. The guy keeps following them. They steal a golf cart, and Marco immediately drives it into a wall. And, some antics ensue for a bit. They, I'm sorry, I just random aside, but I had to point out just the part where Jake is like, "Hey, try steering." But I'm bad at that. "Do you want to crash?" "Well, not really." If you know it, you know it. They,
Nope.
Demented cartoon movie.
Oh, right.
They evade the first guy, but start getting chased by more people. And they're just like, "Okay, let's just dip into this room." And they go in there, and there's a rhino. And they're just like, the way that it was described was really funny. It's just like, I entered the door. I blinked. The rhino blinked back. We ran away. Like,
Yes.
And then they go into another door, and the guards don't follow them in. And they're like, "Huh, why didn't they come in here? Unless, they were afraid to come in." And then it's like, "Oh, there's a fucking tiger here. We're gonna probably die." And I love the idea of the guards seeing them go in there and they're like, "Well, they're fucking dead," and then just not even trying to get them back.
Yeah.
There was also a weird bit where the gorilla's room had there was steel bars separating the entrance from the habitat, so you couldn't open the door and just immediately get killed by it. And this apparently did not exist for the rhino and tiger exhibits.
Unnecessary.
Yeah.
I did enjoy the line of he's going to acquire your butt for dinner when they were like arguing about whether or not they should acquire the tiger, and he's like, no, he's going to acquire your butt for dinner.
Right. But yeah, it's like they're stuck in this exhibit with the tiger. They don't want to, it's like, okay, well, either it's going to kill us or we're going to go back and get in trouble from the guards. Probably better than dying, but fuck it, we're stupid kids. Let's, stay in here. So, Jake is just, very, very cautiously, hey, big bud, hey, little fella. Yeah. Trying to acquire it so that they can put it in the trance and, run away. They do this, run to a ladder to get out, and then immediately start getting pursued by another tiger that they didn't know was in there, and they're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Somehow get out without being mauled.
Right.
And, this crowd of people see them do this. But anyway, they run off and try to blend into the crowd, eventually meet up with the other three. And it's like, they didn't have any trouble finding it. They didn't run into any guards at all. They had a grand old time. And,
yeah, they just, went around acquiring morphs.
Which they absolutely didn't. It says that they did, and we know that Rachel got one, and we do not learn anything that the other two get. So, they didn't get shit.
Yeah, because Cassie turns back into a horse at the end.
Yeah, it's still the only thing she has. And yeah, as they meet up again, they explain what happened, and for some reason, Rachel, Cassie, and Tobias just don't believe that this happened. Just he got chased by guards and tigers. Yeah, right. Why is that hard to believe? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was going to lead into something like a big moment where they prove it, but
yeah, being chased by tigers is too realistic for their liking.
Right. So, fast forward a bit. They get back home. There's a scene of Jake having dinner with the family, and they're like, "Where have you been?" And it's just hanging out. And he's like, "Hey, Dad, what have you been doing?" Hanging out. And they just kind of make a running gag. They mentioned that, they always have a proper sit-down dinner with no TV, and it says my mom's a writer, so she hates TV unless it's one of her favorite programs, and I love that because that is, in my experience, that is very accurate. Of with my generation at least, it's always you damn kids in your video games, you're wasting your life in front of that. And then watching TV is fine. I'm going to watch TV 10 hours a day, and I see nothing wrong with this.
Right.
I feel like that doesn't get called out enough.
I do wonder if there's going to be a thing when we're all grown up, and there's going to be kids doing insert newfangled activity here, and we're like, why don't they, do a more sensible activity, like playing video games for 10 hours.
I mean, that's already how I feel about, mobile apps.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm like, you fucking kids and your TikTok. What was wrong with YouTube? It's so totally different. I mean, it's it is different, but whatever.
Right.
You have a note here. Just in chapter 21. I don't know if you want to read it.
Well,
I meant next first, but yeah.
Because Tom was back on his come join the Shining or the Shining.
The Shining.
Come join the sharing again, and he's all on his bullshit. And I'm like, if Jake had no knowledge about the aliens or anything, he would very easily become a controller because Tom would goad him into it because he just wants to spend more time with his brother.
Yeah, things could have definitely gone a lot differently.
Meanwhile, chicken.
Yeah, they're having chicken cacciatore.
Cacciatore. Yeah, it's a hunter's chicken. Not had it before, but I get the general idea. I've seen recipes for it. This sounds pretty good. At the time I was writing this, I was like, I could go for some of that.
Yeah, I looked it up. It's like a stew, right?
Yeah, it's stewed chicken with like vegetables and stuff. Nice.
There's a great little moment here. Eat the broccoli, Jake. It's good for you. It's full of trace minerals and vitamins you can't get anywhere else. Okay, I said to my mom. You know how much I love trace minerals. The series is great with little jokes like that. Also, yeah, the bit about like, oh, kids hate broccoli. Like, broccoli was fine. I never hated it.
I always did. It was just kind of hard and unpleasant to eat. Like, I would bite into it, and it was like this, mealy, tasteless mush in my mouth I struggled to swallow.
I don't think your parents cooked broccoli well.
No, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure they just, boiled it straight, and then just, that's it. Here's the broccoli.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. You don't want to boil it. At worst, steam it. I usually roast.
I mean, they might have steamed it. I don't really remember, but yeah, no.
Could they at least steam a good ham?
Now for the record, I was always like a picky eater for autistic reasons as a kid, but it didn't help that the vegetables were not prepared in a particularly interesting way a lot of the time, or if they were, it was in like I don't even know. There was a lot of like weird like Slovak stuff that they made that I didn't even know what I was looking at, and that never worked well for me. I always need to know exactly what it is that I'm eating, or else I'm not going to be comfortable eating it.
Yeah. I would say as a kid, I didn't love vegetables. There were some I would probably not eat if they were given to me. I've never liked tomatoes. That was a big one. Those are technically fruits.
It's interesting because tomatoes I basically never had a problem with. I was always fine with tomatoes.
I like medium on.
And I know a lot of people
ones, but I like them raw.
But yeah, I always liked peas and carrots and corn, and broccoli was fine. Green beans are good. Like it just kind of depends how they were prepared. But anyway,
yeah, I've grown into liking more vegetables as an adult, but still not as many as some people, I suppose.
So they're like, oh yeah, Tom. I'm trying to think how to explain this. Jake is trying to be like, hey Tom, what are you doing tonight? Maybe we can like play some basketball or something. He's like, no, I gotta go out, and his dad assumes it's like, to meet with like a girl or something. And Jake realizes like he's probably going to the Yerk pool, and we know where it is, so we need to do this tonight.
Oh, that's the thing we didn't really establish earlier, that they have to specifically go back to like recuperate in it.
Yeah, that was one of the things that they overheard.
Yeah, Tobias learned that from the weird zappy thing, that the Yerks have to feed in a pool once every 3 days. They get nutrients from a thing called a Kendrona, which is basically like an artificial sun. And so there's a Kendrona somewhere in the city that is beaming rays into this pool, and we know where the pool is. So yeah, they have to return there frequently. So they're like, we need to go there, try to save Tom. We got to do it tonight. And so immediately after dinner, they kind of call around and they're trying to form a plan. And they can't get a hold of Cassie. Cassie's mom is like, she hasn't come home yet. I don't know where she is. And it's like, oh, well, shit. And so they're just like, hopefully she went to the school already. We kind of assumed that she didn't, but it's the best hope we have at the moment.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit more of Rachel Tobias bonding. Tobias, already in hawk form, lands on her shoulder, and she's like nuzzling him, and it's like, what's going on there? You have a note here if you want to mention it. Just where my mouse is.
When they were all like, when Jake was discussing how many things were like going wrong, because he was like, well, Tobias is already in his hawk form. We only have 2 hours. He shouldn't be in the hawk form yet. We don't know where Cassie is. Like, everything in my gut told me things were off. Maybe we shouldn't do it. And then we just do it anyway.
Yeah.
And the plan that they come up with isn't even good. Is like, they're kind of just banking on the like, maybe if we just go in there they won't notice that we're not controllers,
right? Because what happens
like,
is
Marco does bring up that it's like, maybe we should not do that until we have some proof of that like being the case.
Yeah, so what happens is they get to the school, they break in because they know there's a window that doesn't lock. They see everybody walking down the hall towards the pool, and they're like, maybe we can just blend in with the crowd. Like, they probably don't know all of the other controllers, right? There's like hundreds of them. And they're kind of like debating, is this a good idea? Do we want to do this? And then they see the cop from before restraining Cassie, dragging her with him, and they're like, well, fuck. Okay, I guess we have to do something.
Yeah, and then they just actually end up going with the maybe they won't notice the plan.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of had to do something. And I'm just noting here that, I've read this book many times, mostly as a kid. I read it a year or two ago when I started going through the series again. I totally forgot this plot point of Cassie being abducted. It definitely adds, last-minute stakes.
Yeah.
I also didn't think the random cop from before was going to be so important. I thought it was just one and done.
Yeah, he doesn't even get named or anything.
Nope. So they follow the group into the secret entrance and start going down a ridiculously long staircase, and then it opens up into a gigantic cavern that they said is... this is another Americans will use anything but the metric system moment. They said you could play the Super Bowl down here and still have room left over for several malls. This is a gigantic fucking cavern.
The worst way to a unit of measurement.
It at least sells the idea that this place is fucking huge.
Yeah.
You could say it's at least 10 kilometers long, but it's big enough to hold a football stadium and several malls. I think that works.
Frankly, no description of the measurement is gonna work for me. I'm just bad at it. Or basically just tell me it's really big.
Yeah.
That's all I can handle.
So they get down there. You have a note here that I don't have an answer for, but go on.
Which one?
In chapter 22.
How this?
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, just how did this actually even get under the school? And is it going to cause structural damage over time? I'm wondering how thick the ground from the top of the cavern, how
Right.
Because that stairwell went for a fucking long time, long enough that they complained that they needed an elevator. So
yeah, and they say that this place is so big that this is under the whole city basically. This isn't just under the school. And as they get further down, they see that there's just dozens of these staircases going up to other locations, which we will eventually be seeing throughout the series.
Yeah,
there's entrances to this place all over.
Through here is just how long have they been under there to create something this massive?
I don't know.
Because we're just learning about this now, but this seems like it's been something that's been growing and has been established for a long time.
Yeah,
there's construction stuff down there, right?
Yeah, they're actively making it bigger at that time, but
so yeah. I assume it's been a few years, maybe a couple decades at most. That was my guess.
I don't know how long it's been. I'd be curious if there's ever a point where it explains. Because the books take place at the same time they're written, I'm pretty sure, so this is 1996. The prequel book is in the 70s, and that is before the Yeerks know about Earth, but they find out about it in that book.
Okay, so yeah.
But I think it's still I think a while before they actually start doing anything there.
Okay, so 5 to 10 years before is my guess then.
I wouldn't be surprised if they'd only been here for a year or two, honestly, but it's hard to say.
Okay.
But yeah, they've made this gigantic cave. They point out there's a tiny hole at the top of it, which raises questions for me because of, as I wrote here, I don't remember that detail coming up, and it would have been very relevant in the oatmeal book. Rest assured, there is an oatmeal book, and a hole at the top of the Yeerk pool would have been very useful information in that one.
So is it going to be a book
another costume?
Like Cassie turns into oatmeal or something?
Yes. No. No, oatmeal is an extremely important plot point in that book. And it's very
I think
wacky.
you have mentioned this to me before, but I don't remember why.
But yeah, I basically describe here like, so before I get into
like
that,
the Yicks go fucking crazy for oatmeal or something?
Yes.
Or they hate it? Okay.
It is a drug for them.
I see.
We'll get to see
I
that
feel
one
like
eventually.
you mentioned this in like a Mario ROM hack or something.
Maybe, yeah.
Because this sounds familiar.
Some video.
Yeah. Instant maple and ginger oatmeal, specifically.
Excellent.
But
that does sound pretty good.
You would say that.
Well,
I like maple.
Because there's maple and I'm Canadian.
Yep.
Fuck you, eh?
I'm sorry.
So, as they get down there, they've been hearing screaming this whole time, and there's basically what's going on down here is they have the pool, there's a ton of Yerks in it, and it's surrounded by cages where people are locked up, humans and Hork-Bajir. But I assume mostly humans. And they're just, people in these cages screaming somebody to help them. Some of them are just, crying in silent defeat. It's a very hopeless, terrible situation. They're coming down there with the Yerks in their heads. They lean down, it pops out of their head into the pool, and then they immediately get restrained and shoved into a cage, and then, they'll be pulled back out to the other side of the pool where they have to dip their head back in and get the Yerk back in it. And it is so fucked up. I wrote in here, honestly, this is one of the most memorable locations for me in, any piece of media because of just how horrible it is.
Yeah.
I would probably say that even if I hadn't watched the show. The show, for as crappy as it is, obviously it gives visuals. The Yerk pool is tiny. They didn't have a budget. But, you at least kind of see the idea of it. But, yeah, just reading about it, it's like, Jesus Christ, this place is horrible. And they kind of, they see now the scale of this operation. They're like, there's not just, a couple dozen people here. This is a wide-scale operation. How do we fight this?
Yeah, and they watch them drag people to the pools and force their heads under the water or whatever's in there so that the Yerks could both I guess it's when they go back in because the people are don't let this back in my head, but while the thing is regenerating they just get shoved in these cages and then they get traumatically forced into the water and held down while they scream.
Yeah, being held down by these dinosaur fuckers with blades all over their arms that are also holding laser guns.
Yes.
It's you can't really fight against this. And as this is all happening, they notice that there's a room off to the side where there's just people watching TV. And these are the voluntary controllers who apparently signed up for this shit. And Rachel is that's impossible. Nobody would ever willingly do this. And somebody, Marco or Tobias, I think, is just some people are scum. And I'm I don't know. When people,
there's gotta be more than that.
If you're a scumbag, that's usually you are that to other people. You don't care what happens to someone else. But you're not going to willingly enter this situation where you are a slave in your own body. But, we do see some instances of it. Chapman is one of them. And sometimes they have a reason. But
I can only assume it's a case usually of, they've got... I don't know.
Yeah,
it's weird because it's how do people get into cults in the first place? Because that's a whole topic, which I guess we don't really have time to get into. But that's a whole field of study. How does this work? How do people get manipulated into this? And very often it's not through like direct force, it's through social manipulation and preying on insecurities and stuff. And I wonder maybe how much of that factors in, I guess.
Yeah. We'll see some more of it. It's definitely a weird idea. Anyway, so yeah, we see all this going on, and they spot where Tom is, because Tobias is in morph, and the Hawk has really good eyesight. He sees him in a cage, and they're just like, okay, let's figure out what we're doing, and they kind of like hide behind some shed or something, and they get spotted, and there's just like, you know, they can't even morph because they're like, it takes a couple minutes. I point this out earlier, actually. Like, the morphing process takes, like, at least 2 minutes, usually. I think you can, like, force it to go a little bit faster if you, like, absolutely need to, but it's really strenuous. But it's not something where you can just, like, you know, bam, I'm a, you know, gorilla immediately and then punch the guy. Like, you kind of have to set up for that. So, when they're spotted, it's like, well, fuck. And, Marco has a line here. He says, you know, keeping in mind this is the character who's been, like, the most hesitant to act the whole book. They're like, you know, we gotta save Tom. And he says, if I have to die, okay, but don't let them take me. Don't let them put one of those things in my head. It's like, Jesus.
You know, for the kids.
Yeah, this is getting really heavy.
Yeah.
So yeah, Tobias flew off somewhere. Jake and Marco get spotted, and Rachel off to the side, somehow unnoticed, morphs elephant and just immediately starts killing people. Like,
yeah, which prompted me to be like, I'm debating making a kill count for the characters. But then I realized, like, that probably wouldn't work, because there's going to be times where they're just like, you know, they mowed through like a bunch of Hawkbajir or whatever, and it's like, it's not going to be a specific number. So
yeah, so
but for a moment I did consider, like, I wonder which of them is, you know, gonna have the highest body count in this sense.
I have an answer to that, but I won't say it.
I mean, yeah, I think you've alluded to this before. But
yeah. Do we count genocide? If we don't, I have two answers depending on whether or not we count that. I mean, yeah, I guess you would, but
I was gonna say, is this like some Ender's Game shit? I don't know. I guess I don't know the context yet.
Yeah. So either way, yeah, we see the elephant is, you know, easily dispatching enemies. I don't think they're going after any human controllers. They're, you know, trying to not kill them. But they're like, these aliens, fuck them. Who cares? And we learn immediately the taxons kind of suck. They're very squishy, and so some of them just kind of like get stepped on and like burst. They're a human would not be able to take one on, but most stronger things can fight one without much issue. The Hork-Bajir are much more of an issue, but you know, she is fighting them. Jake goes tiger, Marco goes gorilla, and they just kind of run in and start wrecking shit. They go over to where the cages are. They, like, Marco rips one of the cages off, and the people try to run out. You've got this whole giant crowd of people escaping. The Yeerks trying to stop them, and then the Animorphs, you know, trying to save more people or whatever. And while this is going on, they're like, Cassie is, like, almost about to get infested. Like, they have her, like, on the pier. And, like, you know, it's going to happen in a few seconds. It's like, fuck. So Jake tries to, like, sprint there as his tiger and stop her, like, save her in time. And it still isn't fast enough. And Tobias flies down and, like, claws at the eyes of the Hork-Bajir, which is going to be his signature move eventually.
Gouge of Valor.
What is that from?
I don't want to say.
Oh. Okay. So, you know, he does this, she runs off, and Jake, you know, thought speaks, like, morph horse, immediately, we're escaping. And so she just kind of does this in view of many people, which is something I'm going to question in the future, but this early in the series, I guess we haven't established the privacy as much.
Yeah, she goes hoarse and grabs a couple people, like 2 people start riding on her as they run out. And then Visser 3 shows up, because of course he fucking does. So, this is a running gag from the Pop Arena reviews of just, Visser 3 is there. Visser 3 is always there. He's just, every time they do anything, no matter what kind of small-scale operation they're busting in on, he's always fucking there. And always makes it worse.
Of course.
So he's there, and he's just like, there were more Andalites. Elfangor wasn't the only one. And they're like, oh, right, of course, we're morphed. He thinks that we're more Andalites. Let's let him think that. And
Yeah.
so...
kind of smart.
So they're just like, okay, we need to fucking run. And so there's the crowd of people running up the stairs. There's the animals running up the stairs.
Well, he also, like, morphs into some, like, fucking god from another planet or something.
Yeah, I was getting to that. Yeah, Visser 3 is like, I acquired this form from the, moon of a dying planet. Like, I hope you like it. And it's described as being, like, as tall as a tree with, like, 8 heads and I think 8 arms. And
this thing, like,
it shoots fireballs.
Yeah.
So they are fleeing for their lives, and he's just indiscriminately throwing fire at people, hitting, regular people too, and hits one of the people riding on Cassie's back. And they're just, they have no means of fucking with this thing, so they're just like, we need to get the hell out of here. Cassie's going up the stairs as a horse. Rachel... Which
is horrible for a horse.
Rachel as elephants can't go up the stairs and has to start demorphing in the middle of the crowd, which, again, okay. They kind of had to, but I mean...
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if she knows how to morph clothing yet, so she might be naked. And,
I'm also questioning if Cassie came in her... morphing outfit as well, because if not, then she also presumably would have left some clothes behind.
I mean, even the boys did, yeah. 'Cause it said that when Jake and Marco morphed, they shredded their clothes. So, yeah, I don't know what they did.
Yeah,
but
I guess when they get outside with that, I guess when they get outside with that one woman, they're all just naked.
They should have kept a bag of clothes nearby.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, they're fleeing, and I think Rachel gets hit at one point, but keeps on going, and as they're going along, all the other controllers are basically grabbing people and kind of stopping them from escaping. They get down to just a couple people left, and then Tom is in the group with them, and he throws himself at the monster to distract it, to let them get out. And it says that he falls down the staircase. It's you described the staircase earlier as being 100 feet tall. Tom's fucking dead, but no, he lives somehow.
Which prompted me to have a very disturbing thought of if a yurk could pilot a body that no longer had an occupant. If Tom actually did die there and the yurk climbed into his brain, could they pilot a fresh body? Because that would be an extra level of fucked up if your now dead brother's body was being piloted by an
Right.
Yeah. No, they can't do that as far as I'm aware. I think the body has
Are they able to
kind of thing?
Are they able to bypass pain? If the body has been injured severely and has broken bones, can they ignore that and pilot it anyway?
Well, I mean,
probably.
I guess so, because Tom came home that night.
Yeah.
The thing is, the Yeerks are controlling the bodies presumably by tapping into the nervous system, and it's said that
right.
they can read their thoughts, and basically they can kind of have conversations with their hosts. And basically the host can't ever have a private thought, whatever it thinks the Yeerk knows. I don't know if they feel pain when the body feels pain. Right. I think they do. I'm not exactly sure.
I asked this question just because it reminds me of a a bit from Ghost Trick, but I wouldn't say anymore as to not spoil anything.
But anyway, they get out somehow, and it turns out, they all escaped, and the only person they managed to save was just one random woman that was riding on Cassie on horseback. And,
up the stairs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't know who she is. She never comes up again.
Damn. I really would have liked to. The fact that it did narrow down to we have saved exactly one person made me curious. Like, I wonder who this woman is and if we'll see her again. A little bit
That's
of a shame, I
honestly
guess,
such a
but-
missed opportunity for a reoccurring character.
To be
potentially.
fair, if that was me, I fucking moving to Svalbard,
Fair.
the middle of the Siberian wilderness or some shit.
Right. I actually have in my notes here that we do encounter some crazy woman living in the woods in a later book that knows about Yerks but isn't a controller. And some fans think that it might have been the same person, but there's no evidence.
I see.
It turns out that the policeman died. I didn't realize that we had a human casualty this early on, but
Yeah, Cassie kills him off screen.
does she? I don't remember what showed.
She said that something like that did what needed to be done and that she didn't want to talk about it.
Huh.
I
I think I
I
missed
do
that.
remember that.
I would like to find that part, but I don't want to take forever. So, or I think maybe it was like, did she just leave him, and that's what happened, or? Here we go. Okay, no, I don't think she killed him. It says, the policeman who had grabbed her was the only controller to know her name. Cassie said we didn't have to worry about him anymore. She didn't want to talk about what had happened to him. He could have just been, trampled. He could have been hit by a fireball. He could have fallen off the stairs. I don't know. But
I guess.
anyway, the book basically ends with, we got out with our lives. I didn't save Tom. He's, he's got a yerk in him again. All we have is, more information, I guess. And then Tobias flies in the window. And Jake is just like, we had a, hell of a night. Sleep in bed with me. It's fine. We need a rest. And he's just like, I can't. I, had to hide down there for quite a while, and I have been in the body for more than 2 hours. And Jake cries, and it's just like, I guess we keep fighting, until the Andalites show up. And that's the book. It ends on a massive downer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said it was pretty bold for a kid series, but I guess it establishes the tone well.
So.
I mean, it worked.
Yeah. I cannot believe this took 3 hours. Holy shit. I don't know if they all will.
That's as long as it took me to read all the chapters, by the way, and make my notes.
I guess for knowing this, I might go a little lighter on my little stupid side jokes and stuff.
I'm thinking about it too. Yeah.
But
I'm incapable of shutting up, so I probably won't.
I'm fine with them being long as long as we can, organize the time for it, I guess. But I don't want to specifically aim for a time, just however long it takes.
Right.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts then? Because obviously I've read the book before, but this was your first time.
I mean, yeah, I enjoyed it. Unlike Nick, I'm not that much of a reader, so I don't have a huge amount to compare it to other than the few things I have read. But it was enjoyable.
Yeah,
and-
it's. Sorry, keep going.
I was just gonna say it's enjoyable and I'm struggling to think of anything more specific to say. It's a compelling setting. Obviously, it is just our world, but the backdrop of this alien war and you can obviously see how that's gonna develop as they continue to explore these ideas and learn more about DX and stuff. Already we're getting, I am kind of cheating here because I know what people have said about this series, but you're getting a little bit of themes of like how, experiencing fucked up shit like this, changes you, and what you have to change in yourself to get through it, and that kind of thing. So it's, I would be compelled to keep reading probably if I was if I discovered this independently and stuff. At least
it keeps you wanting to know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
I hate to immediately go back, realize that I had one last thing to say, but I did note here that it's a very common fan theory that Tobias trapped himself as a hawk on purpose, because throughout the book he seems to basically just prefer that body. When they go to the gardens to get morphs, he even says, like, I don't need any more, just this one's fine. And it was never officially confirmed by the author, but it's pretty much everybody accepts that was the case. He just didn't want to, he wanted to leave that life behind. Which,
interesting.
If you're going to do that, he was the one who wanted to fight the Yeerks the most, and now he doesn't have the ability to morph anymore. So he's kind of given up that, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you could have picked something else.
You could do worse than a big bird.
Yeah. I don't know. This series is, like, a touch more juvenile than what I usually read, but, like, it's definitely got its good points, and there were quite a few, like, funny moments that I enjoyed. A big theme of it is definitely like change, and that touches a bit on what Autumn said about like how they have to change themselves, like going through all these things, how they have to change themselves, and like how that's gonna be coming up. Like they're changing themselves into animals, they're changing the way that their brain works to
it's
deal with all
I guess
of
it's
this
metaphorical,
problem.
right? Like they're adapting to the situations with their animal morphs, but they're also literally adapting to their lives, not being the same anymore, and they have to.
Yeah.
And they have to continue living their lives as they were before, as to not blow their cover, which becomes progressively harder and harder.
Standard superhero stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I guess we can wrap it there. We will.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to book 2.
Yep. I was thinking of doing like kind of a teaser for those. At the end of each one of these, I'll be like, here's kind of a general thing about the next one. I don't actually remember a whole lot happening in this. It's kind of just like, it's our first Rachel book. We learn more about Chapman, and we learn more about like kind of the dynamic between, I guess, like how the Yeerks operate, and like what would you call it, like the order of command and whatnot.
Right. I'm looking at the cover. It's called The Visitor, and we have Rachel turning into a cat, and the tagline says, "No one knows who they are."
I think they might all say that, but
okay.
Oh, no, they don't, but they're all generic. But yeah, it's Rachel Cat book.
I guess I'm curious to see how because it's in first person perspective for all of them. I'm curious to see how the narration changes with each different perspective.
I would say it changes pretty well. It's you can kind of tell the tones are different. Like Tobias is a lot more dreamy and metaphorical about things. Cassie is a lot gentler. Marco, cracks jokes a lot, but also it kind of has his more like locking in moments.
Jake is the main kid.
Yeah, Jake is the main kid. He doesn't get to have a personality. I also made the note of, hey, you want to know what happened to Tobias and how he's going to deal with being a hawk? Too bad! We got to go through Rachel's book first. But
yeah.
Also, I don't know if you knew this, but the author of these books is not just Catherine Applegate. It's also her husband. They kind of like co-wrote them. So that
I know that at some point they start having the ghostwriters, like you mentioned. But...
Yeah, the ghostwriters show up at 25, I think, is the first one. But yeah, it's her and Michael Grant wrote these under one shared pen name. And I'm guessing having two different people kind of helps with shifting the perspective and stuff. But
maybe.
Yep, I suppose we will see that next time. I have no idea how frequently these will happen. It'll probably just be whenever we get time to read through, take notes, and have a solid block of time to record. So don't expect a regular upload schedule.
Right, yeah.
As per usual.
Yep. Well,
yep.
Thanks everybody, and if you're reading along, let us know your thoughts. I don't know for sure that we'll want to do the 3-hour-long shebang and then also do comments, but
if we get any that are like particularly insightful, I might address it.
Yeah, and it'll be nice to just kind of get to share with the audience a little bit as well and get other perspectives.
I'm curious how many people have read these versus were vaguely aware of them but didn't read them versus knew nothing about them. So
I'm assuming it's not too difficult to find the same PDFs that you have as well.
Yeah, if you just Google Animorphs books PDFs, you can just find it. So.
Yep.
Anyway, see you next time.
See y'all.
Like,